What's going on? 6 o'clock. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. First injury report of the week for the Texans and Titans. Hope you packed a lunch because it is a long one for the Titans. Leroy Watson, Tajay Spears, L'Jarius Sneed, Calvin Ridley, Kenneth Murray, Roger McCreary, and Sebastian Joseph Day all not practicing due to injuries. Big Jeff was also on the injury report due to rest. For the Texans, Danico Autry and Blake Fisher missing practice. With Blake, it is a concussion, while Azeez Alshire, Will Anderson, and Derek Stingley all practiced in limited fashion. Bucs wide receiver Mike Evans, who's been out since week 7 with a hamstring injury, is back at practice, planning to play on Sunday against the Giants. That'll be a huge boost for Baker Mayfield, not like they needed against the Giants, but the future Hall of Famer will need 665 yards over the last 7 games to reach 1,000 yards for the 11th consecutive year. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Thursday morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will starts right now. And around these parts, we call this Friday Junior. On 104.5 The Zone, Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling. Is there one area where the Tennessee Titans can still hope to grow in a major way in the 2024 season? We're not talking draft. We're not talking free agency. We're talking the here and the now, because there is no better time than the present. Coach Dave McGinnis joins us at 7:20. He'll talk Titans and Texans. We'll see if he can give us a little bit of Vols analysis as well. We tend to do that from time to time with Coach Mack. Mike Wilson of the Knoxville News Sentinel joins us in hour 3 at 8:20. Talk a little hoops, talk a little football as Tennessee battles Virginia tonight down in the Bahamas. Thursday 3 weekend picks in hour 4. 615-737 104.5 on Thursday, November the 21st. What's up? Good morning.
Hey, what up, good people?
What's going on? I stayed up too late, guys.
Did you? What were you doing?
I wasn't watching sports for once.
Oh, you was
I watched
what were you
the
indulging in?
CMAs.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
What were the
I
highlights?
did. I thought there were a lot of good performances. Chris Stapleton clearly walking away with a lot of the Crystal Glass awards last night. He's just phenomenal. Everything
Crystal Stapleton
he
is
does.
his new name now.
Chris Stapleton.
Crystal Stapleton, yeah, because he had so much crystal.
Yeah, I like that. That's
big
very
time. You
good.
might
They need
pick
to
that
give him
up.
a nickname
Pay
there.
Will for that one, okay?
I will.
Yeah,
Yeah.
If you hear this,
That's
Crystal
not free of
Stapleton.
charge
We'll let
out there.
Stapleton's team know. Megan Maroney, I know your girlfriend probably watched it last night, Peyton, a
She was
little
asleep.
bit, or recorded it maybe.
She's asleep out here.
Yeah, Megan Maroney performed early on.
We cool with
she did
her?
a really good job.
We cool
She is
with
a
her?
Georgia Bulldog, and she did shout out the Bulldog. She won
That's what I was wondering.
Best New Song of the Year
Okay.
or
I'm just-
Artist of the Year. I can't remember.
We're past it now. It's
Artist.
past Wednesday. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
We're past it. I
So
was
she
just
did do a
wondering
little
who's
Go
cool with her.
Dogs. You know,
She did?
shout out a little bit.
All right,
So
it's forgivable. It's
Right.
sports. I get it.
And then they paid tribute to George Strait,
Nice.
the original cowboy.
Who is Entertainer of the Year?
I actually fell asleep right before that.
Kelly, you got to commit to the whole cause, man.
I did
You
everything,
can't come in here
and then
bragging
I
about watching the
realized-
Grammys and then not know album of the year.
It's Morgan Wallen.
Oh, did he really?
As it should be with the year that he's
That's
out.
real.
Wow.
Nah, he crushed it. The stadium tour got
Yeah,
it, right?
that's awesome.
That's
Nice.
yeah.
Goodness.
That is. I know that I was watching the red carpet because a lot of the News 2 crew they do the pregame for that. The pregame.
There's a pregame?
The red carpet.
Yeah, I was about to say.
You know we're in sports when we
Yeah,
say that.
yeah.
And they were interviewing Carly Pierce, and she was like. She was strong on. She thought Jelly Roll was going to win Entertainer of the Year.
I thought he was too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
but congrats to Morgan.
I think Morgan, for my little that I know about the
Yeah.
CMAs and everything, I think Morgan had a bigger jump than he did as far as like starting out early. I felt like Jelly Roll got it midway through the year as far as his push and his stardom more than anything.
And everything we
Morgan
saw
jumped
from
out
Morgan's
quick.
tours, including the one in Knoxville, like that's a show.
Yeah, I mean,
You know?
And now him and Post about to do a stadium tour, right?
That's Post and Jelly Roll.
Yeah, and Jelly Roll. Yeah. Goodness.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was the recap, guys, if you missed
I
it.
saw it
that was
on,
CMAs.
and I just did not like the CMAs. I would attend it. It just wasn't like watchable for me.
It was fun to go to last year.
Was it? Yeah, that's right.
bet.
You did.
It was really fun.
Sure did.
That'd be cool.
Is it a bunch of waiting?
What do you mean?
Like waiting for awards, the next event to happen.
Just like
and
watching
stuff
it on
like
TV
that.
and commercial break.
Yeah, it's
Oh, okay.
pretty
All right.
like
I didn't know if
They
like
play music
flowed
and
like
breaks.
that.
So, yeah,
Okay.
no, it's actually it's kind of like going to a football game.
Yeah.
Like the breaks go faster when you're actually there.
Ah,
And
okay.
Peyton
all right.
Manning obviously hosts with Luke Bryan, and
Yeah.
they had Lainey Wilson, who also is phenomenal, host with them. So
All right.
I was also up late last night because I finished The Penguin on
look
Max.
at you.
Oh my gosh.
You've been just
Oh my gosh. I watched it in a week. Highly recommend. Even if you are not a Batman or like superhero person,
Yeah.
this essentially is Batman meets The Sopranos, is the whole premise and vibe of it. It starts after the Batman movie in 2022 that was like essentially a horror film. Ends. And I'm a big like superhero movie and like comic book nerd guy. I'm sure you're all shocked to learn that if you're listening
Very
out there, if you did not know, if you're not familiar with my game. It's really good. Really, really good. Sets up a bunch of sequels, sets up another movie, and I highly recommend it. It's a really
comic
good
book stuff, man. Will you get to a point to where you start collecting? I'm not sure if you already do.
No.
You just
I'm not that
like
big
the
of a nerd.
idea of okay, all right, for sure. No, I was just wondering because you never know. People like will collect the most crazy.
I
won't say
respect
craziest
the
stuff.
heck
Yeah.
out of those people.
Yeah,
but
I do
Those comic
too.
books?
I was so into sports
Yeah.
as a kid. It wasn't even really as much as like a kid thing for me. Like when I got my wisdom teeth out in college, I watched every Marvel movie in order.
That's crazy.
Which I'd already liked a lot of them. Like I loved Iron Man when it came out
Yeah.
originally because I was in high school. I just dated myself to a lot of you. I'm sorry. This early in the morning. That was
It's
rude
all
of me.
good. It's all good.
But no, I especially like Dark Knight trilogy. I'm just a basic 27-year-old boy. Those are all my favorite movies. Like the Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises is probably my number 2 and 3 favorite movies behind
I
Inception.
do like, actually, I
Another
do like
Christopher
The Dark
Nolan film.
Knight.
Yeah, I feel like movies are getting back to a good point. I will say that. Are y'all as excited for Gladiator 2 as I am?
I didn't know anything about it.
I didn't know
don't
that
know
was coming out.
Gladiator 2, y'all hadn't seen? Y'all, yeah.
I've
y'all-
seen some of the
Yeah.
stuff about it.
In the
but
theaters,
It's one
you
of
gonna go?
Denzel Washington's last roles before he retires.
Oh.
Yeah.
I love Denzel Washington.
I'm just not a movie guy.
This one just. If you,
I'm a TV
you saw
show
the
guy.
original Gladiator, right?
No.
You haven't?
I've not seen anything. I watched Pulp Fiction for the first time on a Sprinter bus with Slay and Brent coming back from SEC Media Days.
Ramon almost fell backwards.
And
last
Dawn,
year.
actually. Dawn was there too. I can't remember if that was one of the times she left
Yeah,
her.
Babs was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they talked
'Cause
about
she
it the
watched-
other day,
she watched
actually.
it for the first time, too.
She's not a movie person either.
No,
Yeah.
I've not done Star Wars. I've not done like so many classic movies. Like no, I mean I was born in 1997.
Yeah,
like
I mean, I get
many of
that,
them I
but
just wasn't
still.
alive for.
Yeah, but oh my, Gladiator though was such a clutch movie.
When did that even come out?
Early 2000s, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I couldn't
the old
tell you.
Google
Okay.
machine right here. Gladiator. Yeah, the original was 2000.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm as big
Oh,
a
that's a while
TV
ago,
show
huh?
person as anybody. Like I'll usually watch most of the best drama, best comedy nominees every year.
It's so much of it.
I'm just
right
not
now.
I don't do movies. I feel like I'm not fancy enough to watch like a good movie. But a good TV show is more for the common man.
Now, I got one more for you. And
Okay.
I know the answer is probably no. You seen Goodfellas?
No.
Yeah.
That's the
That's the
one
next one you need to do.
Yeah,
if
it
you
is.
like Sopranos, then you would love
y'all told me
Goodfellas.
Love Goodfellas.
Fair enough.
Absolutely. You're going to love Goodfellas. If
I'm
you
funny
like that.
how? Funny like a clown?
Funny- oh
Funny like
my.
I amuse you?
Pesci, right?
Yep, so good.
Bert's trying
so
out.
The
good.
dude from Home Alone? Oh, my gosh. I don't know.
with the- He
I've
loses
seen a
his
lot of
tooth.
the
The one that
gifs and
loses his
stuff.
tooth.
Like
Oh my
I'm familiar
gosh.
with the what it looks like.
I got more details behind Goodfellas, too. The bar scene, Bert, you remember when he asked, go get your shoe box, go get your shine box?
Oh, yeah.
It didn't happen exactly, of course. I'll tell you off air on what went down on that one.
You mean like in real life?
Yeah, in real life.
Uh-huh.
Like that scene happened, but it didn't happen that night.
I'll give you a fun fact about it. That movie opens up, or doesn't open up, when he's taking the girl on the date down through the back of the house to get to it. That at the time was the longest continuous one shot in cinema.
Yes.
With no breaks, no cuts. It's just one fluid camera shot from outside of the venue through the kitchen of the venue
Real.
into the open room. It's a really cool shot.
And that's a long scene, too.
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You said it's at the time. What's past it?
I have no idea at this point.
Oh,
Google
I
it.
thought you had some for us, man.
Well, the Titans are hoping they're good enough fellas to go on the road. Didn't work. Go on the road to Houston and win on Sunday.
That was good for me.
Jeffrey Simmons saying yesterday he is still aiming to win the division.
Is there 0-1 right now, basically?
ESPN gives the Titans a 0.5% chance to make the playoffs.
Hey.
So you're saying
Green pasture ahead.
You're telling me there's
a chance. Honestly, though, I had asked a couple of them about that yesterday because it is weird. You've got a ton of your division games left. At least you got some motivation to play for something in terms of even if you don't get in the playoffs, you can at least say, hey, we grabbed, the Jags by the you-know-what 2 times, or we got Houston once. Or
I don't know what. You could have just said,
whenever I say that means I'm saying something that is not
but there's so many words you can say that are for radio. You can just say neck.
Keep it up to the imagination.
You can
say ear or nose or ass.
You can say B-A.
What?
Grab them by the...
No, I would not say that.
Exactly.
I would not say that.
That's why
then pick another word.
That's
pick
why
neck.
I paused.
Pick something that is for the children.
Technically, if you were going to say it, you have to say the anatomically correct version of it. You're not allowed to say any of the derivatives.
Please don't say that one either. I actually feel that one is worse.
Those are the rules. I'm not making the rules up.
We'll tell you off here.
Shoot, because I'm going to use it next time. I can use that next time.
So never mind. We're not going to tell you.
And I had another word in mind.
Neck, throat, the ear, the hand. Grab him by the hand. And take him down.
Grab him by the belt loop.
That ain't exact. That was not what I was thinking.
Well,
By the belt loop.
we're just trying to help.
Crown jewels.
Coming up next, we're going to talk about one area where the Titans can improve for the rest of 2024. Brian Callahan talked about it yesterday. We'll take it other places as well. Where can the Titans still get better in the biggest way this year? That's next.
Hey, it's Kayla Anderson. Want to tell you about one of my favorite restaurants in town. You probably heard of it because it's been around, born right here in Nashville since 1971. O'Charlie's, and they're serving up Southern hospitality every single day. They've got several locations around Middle Tennessee, and they're going to deliver that true Southern comfort food experience. Then they're not going to hand that big bill out in the end. Definitely check out their VIP menu. I've been telling you guys about this, but it has 13 budget-friendly items. They're all priced at $12.99 and under, so very affordable. You can take the whole family if you want to eat this week. And it is Thursday, so maybe you want to start the weekend early. O'Charlie's has the best happy hour in town, home with a $5 Margarita. I've tried it. It's very good. And the $5 cocktail. So nothing also accompanies that cocktail with a $5 appetizer, and they're really, really good. There's a list of them that you can choose from, and the happy hour runs every day, 3 to 6 p.m., and then 9 to close. So make sure to get more flavor, more choices, and more value all day, every day at O'Charlie's.
Titans and Texans this weekend, a divisional game number 2 for your Tennessee Titans. Previewing that this morning and taking a look at where the Titans can still get better in 2024. 615-737-1045. You can take it there if you want to talk Titans with us on the phones this morning or in the F&M Bank chat, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. It felt like a few weeks ago, guys, the only area we were talking about legitimate improvement for the Titans was at quarterback. Hey, is it Mason Rudolph? Hey, is Levis going to be able to come in and be a better version of himself and be better? I know the Titans talked about in the locker room, the coaches and players talked about a couple of different areas where they feel like they can still get better this year. But when I ask that question, where do you immediately go on what this team can improve on for the rest of this season?
What can they improve on? Figuring out how to protect the right side of this offensive line. Like, I say that jokingly, but I do hope there's a way to make that a better operation for the rest of this week, especially if these guys are talking about they still feel like they have the ability to make a play for this division. Now, we've seen teams with under 500 records make the playoffs. NFC East has done that numerous times. The South, NFC South.
NFC West.
Sure.
There's a playoff game between two teams, or what, 500 and then 7-9, right?
Yes, it was. Yes, 100%. So if that's the case, man, I want to be able to see that morph into something else. Like I said, I know the obvious take is watching what Will Levis can do on game day, but to be fair to him, I mean, if I'm uncomfortable in my space, my production is probably going to be a little low too. And considering the guys you've had over there on that side, like if you do have to take something away from somebody on the offense, whether it be a tight end or that's deactivating another player to get an extra tight end up, because you do have a plethora of tight ends of different types and style. Do that. Again, Callahan is this type of guy that can call it and haul it the way you want it to. That's something I want to see shored up, because everything else for the most part seems to handle itself.
I would say on the offense, just being able to, get that point average up. And I know that might seem a little bit finicky, but I have heard so many of these guys tell me if we can just get to 24 points, right, we feel like we can win some games. And so I believe that's been a theme for a while, and it's easier said than done, correct? And you do need to do these little things right, like
penalties.
Yes, no penalties.
Negative plays, not being rushed on your progression. So,
right. Where you don't just stall those drives, because we have seen when they do put a full drive together, it can be successful. And I know a lot of those maybe have been scripted in the beginning, but you feel like they have the parts to do it, but they have hurt themselves so many times in games to not get to that, because they're averaging right now, I believe, 17 points per game, which is the most maddening number I feel like that we've lived with for 2 years with this Tennessee Titans team. So if they can just get that up a little bit here down the stretch and kind of feel like maybe they can build off of even their average points per game, I feel like that's a step in the right direction too, because that 17 number is haunting us all.
I knew that was a running joke. I didn't realize it was actually 17.0.
Isn't that wild?
It's 17.0.
Yeah.
I actually thought it was a little less. I did.
Brian Callahan talked yesterday about one area I think is reasonable to hope and expect improvement, talking about red zone offense.
No, the red zone right now for us has been a we've kicked far too many field goals. You convert those drives into touchdowns, you're going to have a better shot. Obviously, we had a touchdown that got called back. Those are things that we just need a little bit more efficiency. Our third down in the red zone has got to be better. I got to do a better job putting guys in position to be able to convert, because those are 4-point plays, and you want to average above 22, 24, 25 points. That's where you want to be, and we got to do a better job of getting those 4 points more when we have the opportunities, and haven't done a good enough job there to score more than what we've scored. And that's an emphasis for us, is when we get trips down in the red zone, particularly when you get to third down in the red zone, we got to do a much better job than we have, so we can give ourselves an opportunity to score more points.
Personally, though, I'm sure like the trajectory is not where you imagine it would be. So what can he do personally, performance-wise, to get back on track to where you probably imagined he would be at this point?
I don't know that I had any preconceived notions about where he would or wouldn't be. I was just hoping that he would get better every time he went out and would be able to operate the offense and get us in position to score points. And obviously plenty of room for improvement. I think we are improving, but we'd just like to see, again, those moments where we can convert a third down in the red zone, not stall out. And again, some of those are self-inflicted with the penalties, but just finding ways to be better when the field condenses. That's where I think we can do a better job, and Will can help that process as well. As when you get down there and it gets tighter, we have to find ways to make those plays and make those throws and score more touchdowns, because ultimately that's Will's job is to lead our offense down the field, and we need to score points. And right now I haven't scored enough, and we got to keep hammering away at it.
I think that's one area, if you're looking for something the Titans could still do better this year, to take something to the bank for next season. Hey, look, they got better in this department. I think it's red zone offense. They're only scoring touchdowns on 48% of their trips to the red zone. That is 28th in the NFL.
And they have a chance this weekend to start to fix that, because with all the good that the Houston Texans do defensively, their red zone defense has not been brilliant. I mean, they're allowing opponents to score 69.23% of the time, so almost 70% of the time, which ranks 30th in the NFL. And I know some of the guys that I spoke to when I brought this up, said, yes, that is definitely something we're looking at, but we also cannot continue to shoot ourselves in the foot when we are down there. When you mentioned the penalty situations that they've been in. But this is an opportunity, guys, that like I said, if there's things ahead that you can work on, you got to look at the opportunities and take advantage of them. So they need to work on this weekend, maybe with the Texans not being so great down there. And
to be fair, too, to the offense, like figuring out tight red zone is hard, because you add another defender, too. Well, 3 of them, both sidelines and the back of the end zone.
Right.
Yeah, you add that component to it, too. So being creative, I think some of that falls on the decision-making of the people with the ball in their hand. Either they're running it or the quarterback throwing it, but also the creativity of the coaches calling the plays, too. Like, again, y'all know I'm not going to not name the coaches when it comes down to this type of stuff too. Figure out what your bag is. And another thing to be said, after I think Teron Davenport asked him a question as far as like expectations for Will, I've always heard, like, if you are going to set goals, like set a number, set something up. Like, well, I just want to get better from week to week. Like that's a way for failure that I've also learned too myself. Like, all right, sometimes you do have to put a number on it. Sometimes you do have to put expectation on something, attainable. And that's where I hope Will Levis and meaning Brian Callahan, are at this point. Like, hey, I want you 225 yards a game, a touchdown, and if you can, minimize your interceptions to 1. Something.
Yeah. That's a good point. When it comes to the red zone, you guys, in terms of ideas and creativity, because I know in the past this team has had different ways of being productive in the red zone, because at one point they really were. I know when Jonnu Smith was here, he was a target. When Derrick Henry here, he's been so good having that piece in the red zone. Like, they clearly don't have those 2 pieces, but what's like an example of maybe how you would get that red zone offense? Maybe
it comes in different ways.
Yeah,
it does. It can be committing to the run. It could be shovel pass. Like, there's so many different options that you have, but like, it also depends upon what the defense is presenting you with too.
Sure,
there is a lot of adjustment. Like, I like to use like the Coach Klein sentiment, like looking over at the sideline and trying to be a mastermind and figure out what they're trying to do.
Yeah,
like, you have to be in your bag as a coach. That's why I say, if you feel like this perfect play has been called, then it falls on the players to execute it. But you do got to get to a point to where you, as a play caller, are getting better at it too.
That and adjust. Yeah,
I think it's an indictment on the amount of Titans skill players that can win one-on-one in a phone booth. I think the Titans have some explosive playmakers. I think you obviously love the way Calvin Ridley can take the top off the defense and get open downfield. But a couple weeks ago, they threw a fade to Josh Wiley. In the red zone. I think that's the area where they are lacking. And when we look at areas where they can still identify talent in a different way and improve as an offense, you need a power forward at wide receiver, and they don't have one. The closest thing they have to that is Nick Westbrook-Akine. There's not that big physical wide receiver you can throw a fade to and say, all right, we're not going to do this all the time. It's not the only fix to red zone issues. However, you don't have that guy that can bail you out every now and then, just win one-on-one.
Will, you took me back right there, man.
Took you back to what?
I forgot about that Josh Wiley one, man.
Yeah, they threw a fade to Josh Wiley. And it's like
Didn't
Josh
work
Wiley
well.
had never tried to catch a fade before.
It did.
And that's a guy I thought who could be a red zone contributor this year.
Well,
because
red
of-
zone contributor is one thing. Throwing fades
sure.
to him against
Yes,
corners
yes,
is another
correct.
thing.
But they haven't really gone to him in those moments either.
Exactly.
Exactly.
The jokes right themselves.
It's like, don't pull me off
Yes.
the bench when I'm only playing 5 minutes a game and ask me to make
Right.
a corner three
Yeah.
off a set play out of
Yes.
bounds.
You need to leave now.
What do you want me to do?
Nobody
You want me
remembers.
to tell you the Titans are great on offense? That they're great in the red
wasn't
zone? They're 28th in the league, Ramon.
Nobody remembers.
It's not my fault.
No, that's on me.
What do you want me to do?
Tragedies or comedies, which is why I'm laughing.
Kenny the mailman up next.
Kenny,
615-737-1045. Hey, Kenny.
Will.
Hey, good morning, fella, everybody.
Good morning. Morning, kid.
I got a quick test for you. Each one of us say this separately, not together. Can you say the word look out for me, each one?
Look out.
The next,
Look out.
next.
Look out.
Y'all all three pass. Evidently, that's the only qualification to play right tackle for the Tennessee Titans.
Oh, my goodness.
But you can only say it after the snap, not before, as your blocker breezes past you like in an open field of dandelions.
Oh, boy.
I have a hard time. How do you evaluate Levis when, this is just, it's unbelievable. As soon as the ball is snapped, people are grabbing at him. So maybe if they can say look out twice for somebody and get in the way. Y'all have a good day.
Oh,
Kenny
boy.
the mailman.
Kenny getting creative.
Kayla and I were probably more like the Titans were because it took us probably too
know.
long to say look out.
I
Right?
knew it. Yeah, it's true, too. I knew it after Will said, I know where he's going. I
You know where he's
just didn't
going with
expect
it.
Kenny.
Kenny brought it, and then he painted the
coffee's
picture.
hitting this morning. The
Right?
coffee's hitting this
That's
morning,
great.
Kenny.
But that's the thing,
great.
you know.
That's good.
The right tackle, and he said, which one? Because all of them have had their
Nicholas
moments
Petit-Frere
of
again now.
whiffs. Yeah, and it's back to MPF. If you didn't catch the headline yesterday,
I'm with Will now.
He's back.
No, Kayla. I'm with Will now.
Oh, I thought you said you were going to put Will in at right tackle.
Well, I mean, he can't.
I was
at this
like,
point.
okay, then let's go.
No, I'm with Will. Will said we can't give people nicknames and use letters to represent
Nicholas
them.
Petit Frere.
Nicholas
There you go.
Petit, what's his middle name? Like when his mom tells him he's in trouble.
Yeah.
Nicholas?
Yes.
Nicholas Petit Frere.
Nicholas Bryan.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Aloysius.
I was going to say maybe Slay would give him Nathaniel in the middle name.
I mean, he got his Nathaniel board over there. I don't know if he's added them or not.
Nathaniel Petit Frere.
What,
Face
I mean,
fitting.
just doesn't need to be just a quarterback.
I
All
want
right.
What if we called him Nicholas Daly Dillard Petit Frere?
Lord, what a trifecta.
Because he is the new Andre Dillard and Dennis Daly. That's for sure. Just
They
on the
just
other side.
Can't get away from those tackle issues when it comes to those type of players.
I'm with Will now. We got to call him Nicholas Petit Frere.
Yeah, I guess it's going to take
You was
longer,
right.
but
You was
okay.
right way back then, and I didn't know it. I was all about nicknames.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
I'm right about once a year, so that'll be my one this year.
Look out,
Blind
guys.
squirrel finds a
Look
nut every
out.
now and then. Matt is in Shelbyville up next on the phones. Hey, Matt.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
My thing is, they weren't really good last year. They got a lot of holes. They got a lot of holes this year. But the play calling in certain down and distance and field position has been horrible. So I think that if you can shore that up, I think you got a chance.
Yeah.
But
Matt, what would you change? What do you think? What do you not like about the play calling?
Well, first of all, I remember there a couple games back, they were on the goal line, and Pollard was just having his way with the run game, and they decided to throw it 4 downs in the end zone and got stopped on 4th down, and that was just unfortunate.
Detroit.
I mean, all you got to do is give the guy the ball and you would have a touchdown. But sometimes you try to overthink. But again, I don't understand that you have 30 teams in the league. Everybody gets into the red zone, and yet you have certain teams that can score on a regular basis, and you can't. I mean, what is your film study? I would be studying how everybody else is getting in and running their plays, because obviously their plays are working and yours aren't. So
Thank you, man.
I don't know.
I feel you. I feel where he's coming from.
I know the goal line situation in Detroit is a good example of an area where the Titans should have called better plays. I mean, I think you can look at the sequence in Buffalo where they ran it up the middle on 4th down and 2 from their own, 45 to start that second half. I think overall there are not a lot of playbooks to mask how bad the Titans are at right tackle.
Yeah,
I don't think play calling is close to the Titans' main area of concerns on offense.
Yeah, and Callahan owned that Detroit one too. He said,
he did. For sure.
If they'd have scored, he'd have been right. Now in hindsight, he wish he'd have did something different. So there's always that side of it too. And so I guess one of the bigger questions I have, considering how much we put on Levis, is how much grace do you give Coach Callahan too? Because he's the one calling the plays, right? Mm-hmm. He's the one that's got control of the team. Like, it's one thing to have your team emotionally. And Kayla, you said, like, they're locked in.
Yeah.
And you can tell they're locked in too. But as it pertains to his ability to become better as a play caller, like, do we think that he also will be better next year or this second half of the season?
You have to be.
Because, again, the last caller mentioned those plays. And, Will, you mentioned the Buffalo game too, where you were in it till you weren't. Like, there is some onus on people that are in charge a lot more than I think we want to give credit to. And that's, to me, where I kind of want to see. When you brought up earlier, Will, where can we be better in those moments, right? As far as the second half of the season, how can you protect and make the right side obsolete to where we don't mention it? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's that portion of it for me also. And that the other side, I guess, the back end of this, Kayla, is, well, sometimes the players just have to be better.
Yeah. And that's, I think, one thing that I do kind of grasp when we talk to those guys is they're trying to be. Like, they're going to do everything they can.
Have you spoken to the right tackles, though? Like, Nicholas Petit-Frere?
So that's an interesting one, and I'll go and do that today. I'll talk to Isaiah and Dylan Ray. I will do that and get some.
Do they feel the pressure to be better also? Like, is there what are you doing as a player? Like, is it more film? Are you getting more reps in practice? Like, I know they're like about to start taking the pads off because it's later in the season, but are you asking Jeff for a rush or Arden for a rush more times than just doing the you know what I'm saying? Like what Coach Bill Callahan has you doing? Yeah,
I'll go talk to both of those guys today for sure and report back on you. And, you know, it's never guaranteed they'll be in there, but I'll definitely be on a mission to. But you know, that's the thing in terms of, you brought up that right tackle, and it's like, if we could just get this at least to be somewhat good. It doesn't have to be great by any means, but just to be average at this point. Maybe we could move on with some of these conversations that we're having about all of it. Do you get what I'm saying? But I just feel like we're always coming back, because we have to that right tackle spot, because it is such an eyesore.
I wonder if Nicholas Petit-Frere had been totally healthy in the offseason, if the Titans could have seen this coming.
I think you could have.
I mean, he was hurt at the end of last season. Then he has the knee cleanup going into training camp, right? So he didn't have a full camp. Like, if the Titans had watched that guy play football in the offseason and had a full, sample size, would they have said, oh, crap, and gone and found somebody else more quickly? Because now it's kind of like anyone else you're going to find is at the same level as Isaiah Prince and Leroy Watson and, Jaron Christian, who they made a move for during training camp, and guys like that. Like, the Chris Hubbards you could have had in camp are gone now.
Yeah. And to answer your question, yes, you could have figured it out, but at that point, who are you willing to either trade to get something better or...
Well, you could have swapped late round picks for somebody if you really wanted to go get someone.
You could have. But here's the thing about OTAs and minicamp, though, too. Like, now, since it's not as many physical days, like, how much can you actually see out of the guy, too? Yeah. I don't say...
It's fair.
And can I say one thing about that, too? I do feel like I had this conversation with Lauren Walsh of Channel 4 the other day about Traylon Burks. So we were speaking of NWI not getting playing time earlier in the season. And I do feel like when staffs come in and it's a brand new staff, you do give the benefit of the doubt to your draft picks. I really do feel like that's part of it. And I know that does not mean it always works out. And clearly it didn't with either of those situations, right? But I do feel like you have to think that's probably what they did.
That's where me as an undrafted guy, I hate coaches.
Yep.
I hate front offices.
I mean, they had to gamble on somebody to make a jump. And they made a bad gamble on Nicholas Petit-Frere taking a step forward and being coached well by Bill Callahan. And now right tackle becomes the biggest priority of the offseason. Yeah. Even bigger than quarterback, to be honest with you.
It's just how rich are you willing to spend on it? You know, is it what if you can move back and get more picks, I feel better. But if nobody wants to dance with you in the trade world, I mean, I don't a two. I mean, second.
You don't
round,
take him at number 2 or 3, do you?
No,
Like right tackle.
no,
You can't do that.
At that point,
You better be getting Joe Thomas on the right side of the line if you're taking a right tackle in the top 5 picks.
Maybe Trent Williams or something.
You better be getting Joe Alt. Literally, because Joe Alt was what, picked 6?
6 or something, yeah.
By the Chargers, or 5th, right in front of the Titans.
Yeah.
2 picks in front of the Titans.
Yeah, they were a pick, wasn't it?
Oh, Matt Miller had his mock draft this morning.
Oh.
But it's November, so I don't care. 615-737-1045. I love Matt. Don't care yet. Coming up, Woody Johnson had a wild idea for the Jets coaching staff, which was so wild to them, people thought he was joking, according to a new All Access piece. We'll dive into that next.
Did you know that up to 50% of the air you breathe in your home comes from your crawl space? Have you ever looked in your crawl space? I get it. Most of us don't even want to know what's in there. But moisture in your crawl space can create unhealthy issues that can make their way into the air you breathe every day in your home. It's Ramon Foster, and this is where United Structural Systems can help, all right? USS has been keeping homes dry and stable in Middle Tennessee since 1994, so you know they aren't going anywhere. Help moisture control musty smells with mold treatment and crawl space encapsulation that comes with the USS guarantee. That's right. Encapsulation helps reduce high humidity in your crawl space, help deter mold and mildew, and protects your crawl space from pests and wood rot. Turn your crawl space into a healthy space. Call USS for all your foundation and repair waterproofing needs. You can call them at 615-488-7855. That's 615-488-7855, and find them online at USSTN.com.
Things have gotten to the point in the NFL where you can tell me something happened in the New York Jets facility, and I would 100% believe it. It's RKW, Ramon, Kalen, Will. Wrap it up hour number 1, 615-737-1045. It's kind of like that kid in class that made you feel better about your grades. Like you would get a C, they would get an F. You would get a 75, they'd get a 68. The New York Jets are the kid that keeps failing easy tests, the pop quizzes. So Woody Johnson, according to sources to The Athletic, the day after the Jets lost to the Broncos, September 29th, 10-9, had a contentious meeting at the team facility. Guys, I would imagine most of their meetings are contentious.
I would think so.
At this point.
Yep.
The coaches had been called in to explain what happened with their units during the 10-9 home loss to the Broncos. And during the meeting, Jets owner Woody Johnson suggested to the coaches that they bench Aaron Rodgers in form of Tyrod Taylor because he felt Rodgers' performance was holding the team back. The coaches were stunned at the decision, talked him out of it, and convinced Johnson to stay the course and that benching Rodgers with his pedigree 4 games into the season would not sit well with the locker room. Drama in Jersey.
Man, I actually got to give more respect to Woody Johnson than I thought.
know. I was going to say, I thought Woody was the reason.
Yeah,
Me too.
yeah.
Well, the piece says a lot more negative stories about Woody Johnson, but maybe that one he was on the right side of history.
Yeah, he was on the right side of that one. I mean, it's good to be Tyrod Taylor, though. He'll forever have a job, man. No, for real. It's just a lot of dysfunction there. I know New York gets the reputation, it's hard to play in New York with the media and everything behind it, but this amount of information that got out about Woody Johnson and over the last few weeks, so I mean, it's heavy. I don't think there's any secrets inside that building anymore.
No, and it goes to show to you guys that even the shiniest pieces or the pieces that have done great things in the past don't just automatically fix a dysfunctional organization. That is the prime example of what we're seeing here with the New York Jets. I hate to say this, but it's like once a dysfunctional organization, maybe always, because we've seen with a lot of the ones that are like that, they've not fixed themselves. They've not corrected themselves yet.
You just got to Houston yourself.
Are we saying the same about the...
So the Houston, I guess what I'm saying about them is they had a period that they were dysfunctional and got out of that. When I think of dysfunctional long term, I think of the Jets. I think of the Cleveland Browns. I know the Cowboys won back in the day, but they've been dysfunctional for quite a while. So those are the ones that pop into my head right away.
Do you think of the Titans?
And the reason why I say no on this, and I had this discussion the other day, is because I think the Titans do a good job of, even when they're going through all the adversity or the losses or the changing of coaches and stuff like that, I do feel like there's always getting back to being I'm not going to say the word. I don't want to say this word. It was going to be the C word. Getting back to we're all on the same page, right? And
I had another word.
I know you did. And for an example, I know what you were going to say. For example, this year, when things are not going well and when there maybe was a little bit more hope of what the season would be, what did we just talk about? This locker room is not pointing fingers still. They're not divided. That is part of a culture still that you can maintain without being dysfunctional, without having a lot of wins.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like we're talking about just buying shiny things to go in the locker room and players that are splash signings and it not working. I feel like you're just describing the Titans too.
Yeah, and maybe it's because the other ones it gets so much more messier, because I do agree with you, Will. It doesn't necessarily work out here a lot when it comes to those types of things, but I guess it doesn't get dysfunctional in the way, and maybe it's because they don't get a national attention.
I was just gonna say,
I think it was very dysfunctional here. That's why there's a new regime.
I think since the AJ trade, I think it has been. I do. I personally do. There hasn't been a reset to happen yet, other than change of a front office that, of course, we expected, and they did too, a better outcome or better start to this new regime, and it hasn't happened yet.
Yep.
Right? I do think they're at that point. Now, what I'm hoping for is the build up through the draft, hopefully the smart spending moving forward as far as free agency goes, and hopefully you have a coach that grows in the right direction, because, Kayla, Like, winning is contagious? Very much so. Winning get great calls on game day from referees and stuff like that. You somehow make, like,
nice.
great receptions and plays are being made. But on the other side of that thing, too, losing.
Yeah.
Losing.
Very contagious.
Like, very contagious.
I guess I look at the time they were winning here because I was here covering the teams at that time too. And I do hold on maybe to that time too because it was like, okay, things were good. And as much as we talk about the dysfunction of Vrabel towards the end, there were some really good times in the middle there with him that we weren't going to be talking about dysfunction. Now, you're right. Once that A.J. Brown thing happened, and again, I'm not going to put Mike Vrabel at fault for that. I mean, we all saw the look at his face. That does not lie.
That's to me
But that could have started maybe a little bit of the tearing of the seams, right?
Yeah.
And I do think Amy got ahead of it, though. I do think she got ahead of it and said, hey, I got to nip this in the butt. And sometimes owners have to step in at the right times. They can't be stepping in, though, every freaking game where they're making comments. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think if you're looking for the difference between the Jets, the Titans, it's Woody Johnson's involvement in a way I don't think Amy Adams Strunk is on the ground floor. Joe Douglas in this story by January was losing control. Assistant General Manager Rex Hogan was fired, a move that really surprised many in the organization because of how close Joe Douglas and Hogan were. Multiple team sources theorized that Johnson forced Douglas's hand to fire his assistant GM. And in the aftermath, Douglas told Jet staffers, quote, Woody should just fire me now. And this was back in January. That, I think, is the cautionary tale for the Titans. If things ever get that bad, just burn it down. And I think that's what we just came out of. So I don't think the Titans are in this situation to where you've got different voices within that organization working in different directions than the owner, than Amy Adams Strunk. But that, I think, is what we will not know because we're not inside that building of just how well all those people actually work together. Clearly, they were not working together. They're working against each other in New York. So I think that's the best example of how the Jets are different and how the Titans could learn, like, all right, it could get worse.
Yeah.
Since AJ, 22, 7-10. 23, one more loss. You're 6-11, and this year's trending downward again. So yeah, that was the start of the dysfunction, if we want to call it that, and everybody's begging to get out of it right now.
615-737-1045 is our number. Hour 2 coming up. Coach Mack at 7:20, and Brian Callahan talking about the pressure on Will Levis to win games. How much pressure is on him to just get W's despite what else is happening around him on the roster? We'll talk about that next.
What's going on? 7 o'clock. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. First injury report of the week for the Texans and Titans. Hope you packed a lunch because it's a long one. For the Titans, Leroy Watson, Tajay Spears, L'Jarius Sneed, Calvin Ridley, Kenneth Murray, Roger McCreary, and Sebastian Joseph Day, all not practicing due to injuries. Big Jeff getting a veteran day off. For the Texans, Danico Autry and Blake Fisher missing practice, while Azeez Al-Shire, Will Anderson, and Derek Stingley all practiced in limited fashion. In the NFC South, Bucs wide receiver Mike Evans, who has been out since week 7 with a hamstring injury, is back at practice and planning to play on Sunday against the Giants. Big boost for Baker Mayfield and crew. Future Hall of Famer Mike Evans needs 665 yards over the final 7 games to reach 1,000 yards for an 11th consecutive season. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
RKW rolls into hour number 2 on this frigid Thursday morning in Music City, USA. 615-737-1045 is our number. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Boulding, Robert Walsh waking up with you and streaming live on 1045 The Zone TV. Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. You hit the comment section there and join the F&M Bank chat. Coming up in 15 minutes, Coach Dave McGinnis will stop by. We'll talk Titans and Texans, maybe a little bit of Vols with him as well. Mike Wilson of the Knoxville News Sentinel at 8:20 this morning, and the Thursday 3 in hour number 4. Ramon is cheating on us, Caleb.
I know.
He's not
with
here
another
at the moment.
station.
He really is. Another station and in this building.
Yeah, in this building. Let's
So
make that clear.
Ramon was on BR time this morning. That is known as Buck Rising time.
Correct.
He arrived in the studio. I'm going to tell him in a little bit because, again, he's not here to defend
Please
himself.
do.
Around 5:59.
Correct.
We've all done it. It is what it is. Here he
there
is.
he
He's back now.
is.
So he missed.
Light
he
jog.
missed a regular interview he had with our good friends at 92Q down the hall, meaning he felt the need to go ahead and do that interview in this last break.
I did.
And he
I did.
almost
You're
made
only
it
2
back.
minutes late.
Yeah.
Almost. Listen,
did.
at least I'm not Buck late. At least I'm not.
We said you were on BR time to start the
Rising
show this
time.
morning.
That is a real
I
thing
did
now.
say that.
Except unlike him, you probably know the name of Indiana's football stadium. At least you have a better
Exactly.
chance of
And their
doing that than
quarterback.
him. That's right.
Yeah.
So Brian Callahan talked yesterday about how much pressure is on Will Levis to win. And I think it's an interesting discussion because we are really positive on Will Levis after last Sunday, right?
Yeah.
295 yards, played well, could have had over 300 yards if Isaiah Prince knew where to line up at right tackle without an illegal formation. But how much pressure is on Will to actually deliver W's? Brian Callahan talked about that yesterday, judging Levis on wins or losses.
That to me is one of those things where there's a lot of other things that got to be better too. It's not just on the quarterback. We only have 2 wins in our, whatever it is, 9 tries now. So I hesitate to put any of that on purely just a quarterback evaluation. Yeah, wins. Can he elevate the team? Can we win games? That's part of it. But there's a lot of other things that got to go into playing better around him that factor in. So I wouldn't necessarily put that in this point right now, the pure wins and losses on the quarterback. We got a lot of other things that we got to do better too. So that all factors in. But yeah, at the end of the day, we're all judged. Myself, Will, everybody here is judged on wins and losses. Ultimately, that's the production that we all seek, and that's how we're judged ultimately at the end of every year is did we win enough games? Did we compete? Are we in position to make the playoffs? Are we not? All those things. And that ultimately is what it comes down to, but that's not necessarily how I evaluate the whole process.
So Brian Callahan doesn't seem to think wins or losses are a major factor for Will Levis specifically and personally to him. Do you agree?
I do agree. He somewhat took ownership right there lightly. I thought he was going to say, hey, that's on me. I got to be better. I thought he was going to fully own up to it because it does take a lot of parts. But what does follow him as a quarterback is his starts, his wins and losses, and his stats of throwing interceptions and touchdowns. I do think that's a strong point of how Levis is going to be judged. Now, again, I do think he'll get a mulligan at the end of this thing because there's a lot to be understood about this offense and the operation of it, too, that I don't think they felt like they got in the offseason, which is still asinine to me as it pertains to, I mean, it was his squad. But I think reality set in quick, Will, when they got punched in the mouth early in the season. I think if everything had gone right in Chicago, we'd be singing a different tone because you'd have had a method of what works and what doesn't work. That phantom pick six or whatever it was, I think it ruined it for a lot of people, including Will Levis himself. So I am of the mindset, we talked about this 2 weeks ago. Like, if he flipped this thing around and gets 7 wins, whatever the case may be, I think you feel a whole lot better about Will Levis. How a coach judge him and public perception are two totally different things, though.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, that's the thing. As a coach and a first-time head coach who was presented, this is your quarterback, work with it, figure it out, right? Make him better. I think that's a different kind of quest that he is on compared to what the fans are looking at this whole experiment as. Yes, they can do whatever they want. Like, it's their team. They pay money to go see this team. You know, they invest their time in this team. So they look at it as like, hey, wins, we got to see those at some point. Whereas I think Callahan is really, honestly, trying to do everything he can to fully get the evaluation on Will and take every game to make sure he is building on those little things. But you're right, Ramon. I will put some of it on Will at the start of the season. I think we needed to see this from the start, and it's unfortunate because it put him behind. And it's because of the mistakes he made, not in just one, but I think 2 of those games to start the year. Yeah. And so now I think it's harder to have that conversation about, hey, you can't put it on Will exactly. And I agree. It's got to be the whole team. Things have got to be fixed on the right side, et cetera. But I think he just has to evaluate it differently because he knows this is what I have right now. I've got to take a step back, as frustrated it probably is that he took a step back, and Will Levis as well, and make sure that he is getting back on track, which he is right now. He's just behind.
My only thing, though, real quick, Will, before you go, is this. As a coach, like, I've coached kids before, and I know kids is different, but athletes are athletes, and coaches are coaches, right? I do know this. Johnny over there ain't getting the ball no more. Okay, like, that was a conversation that coaches have. Coach, like, when do you as a coach, though, and I ain't trying to say Callahan's at this point, but when do you as a coach just be like, yeah, he ain't it?
I love that you're comparing Will Levis to middle schoolers, but I really appreciate it because he has made some middle school kind of mistakes.
And Ramon, how much do we know?
There's no Johnny on our team either. So.
How much do we know that there's not other people that are a part of this decision with him overall? There can be other parts that are saying, hey, we're giving Will this. I'm not fully convinced Brian is the only one that's making this decision to hey, we're going to have Levis finish out the season. I'm still convinced it was something at the start of the season they said, we're giving him the year, at least.
I would hope, like, and see, that's the other point to me, though, too, is like looking at the Jets scenario that they have, right? The fiasco that they have going on. Like, the moment ownership starts getting over, and I said this time, the moment they start getting involved with it, like, is when it starts to break even more. So I hope they leave that decision up to Coach Brian Callahan more than just, hey, the front office jumping in and say, we don't like this. Because, again, if he believes in them, let him figure it out in totality before he just washes his hand. Because I do think a good coach never lets the players know that he's out on them. Yeah. He never do that.
I just think the challenge for Levis is we have to learn whether or not he's capable of managing a game with the lead, of closing a game out, of making winning plays in critical situations. It is not fair to only judge Will Levis based on wins and losses. There are 21 other players that start on offense and defense. However, when has this league ever been about fairness? And he's got to now atone for the mistakes that he made in September when the Titans were in position to win some games and he gave them away. So now, to me, I don't care if he continues just to have these 290-yard performances and the Titans keep losing. That's great right now. At some point, though, you're going to have to win one of these. against someone you're not supposed to beat in order to prove to me you are capable of leading this franchise forward in the future and at least being the guy at the start of next year. Because I think if I'm Levis, that is my goal right now. Can I be the starter at the beginning of 2025? That's all he should be focused on.
You know what's fascinating about you saying that too, jumping out hot, is I'm correlated to Dalton Connect. He jumped out on the scene and has stayed there. Like when we mention like guys being able to stick in the league, like those are the things that you do. And it's the same way that you see right now. J.C. Latham belongs, right?
100%.
He's had numerous games in a row.
I'd say Devondre Sweat belongs.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
There's a concept. I'd even throw Jarvis Brownlee in there. He's got some technical stuff to clean up.
Sure.
But you know he's
I
going to be in
love
the
him.
league.
He's a
I think
rookie.
he's great.
He's up and down.
So my point about coaches knowing, Will, Kayla, like at what point do you start to believe what your eyes are showing?
Yeah.
I think it's fair. And I just think at this point, like, we just got to know if he's a winner. Because how many big games did Will Levis win in college?
We had this conversation. None.
We've had it plenty of times, and we're going to
Honestly.
keep having it until the draft next year and while he's still in a two-tone blue jersey. It's my biggest concern about Will Levis. He has never been in a winning situation as a football player, maybe since high school.
How much credit do we give and see, though? And again, you have to be consistent. That's the word we need to
Very
use here.
much
But
so.
when we saw the Miami game last year, and he was able to lead them to that comeback.
Keep doing it.
That's what we need.
Do
We
it
need to
again.
see
I can't
more
take it
of
away
those
from him.
types of situations, though. And
That's
we
an
haven't
anomaly.
seen it at all this year.
Yeah.
Right. So that's like, oh, well, here we saw a little bit of it in. We have it. He's got a little bit of it in him.
Different coaching
That's
staff,
why I
too,
asked you
now.
Yeah.
Secondly, again, when do we start believing what our eyes are showing us?
Weeks ago.
In one of these next how many games, and some of them are division games. I'm sorry, but
7
I
more
would be
games.
I would be doing meditating. I'd be doing acupuncture. I'd be
Whatever
doing
works for him.
whatever it does for Will Levis to
Shock
get in
therapy.
his headspace right. Yes, shock therapy.
Just watch the fumble in Chicago.
Oh my gosh!
I'm telling you,
Whatever it
man.
takes to be in my zone, though.
Interceptions.
Yeah.
Maybe you can do that with Zeus. I don't know if that's
Right?
going to work on Will Levis.
Well, he go past
Shot
the
caller.
invisible fence now. He don't care no more.
He just got to win, man.
Yeah.
Like at this point,
And
it's
believe
why
he can.
And that's all that's going to get me back in on Will Levis. I am still out. Like we're still going to talk about when he improves because he is improving, and I think he might continue to improve enough to give himself the benefit of the doubt to start 2025 with a 1B quarterback option. You know, the equivalent of a Jacoby Brissett or a Drew Lock. That's what we're looking at this upcoming offseason, or another, first round pick quarterback, which I'm skeptical of at this point. But until he wins games, I'm not really moved to get back in on the Will Levis game, personally.
You
like
got to
the
really
progress,
prove
though.
you.
You can still
Really
say
gotta
Yeah,
that.
prove-
absolutely. I
Okay.
like the progress a lot.
Okay.
But the biggest step is, can you win ball games?
Right.
Can you lead this team to wins regardless of what's going on around you?
And I know that fans are frustrated a lot. You hear that, well, can't you just we're done with this conversation. He's not it. Well, guess what? He's still your
Strap in.
starting quarterback. So until he is not, and he's not here, these are the conversations that have to be had.
Yes, ma'am.
Coming up next, Coach Dave McGinnis, Titans Radio's head coach, after this. Hey, it's Will Bowen telling you about my friends at Whataburger, now with a 17th location in Middle Tennessee. Congratulations, Hendersonville, 164 East Main Street, the newest Whataburger here in the mid-state area. Look, guys, I know PTA night is a boring company meeting. It's the annual reunion of Gulf Coast crochet enthusiasts. Now, what do all these get-togethers have in common? They could be boneless wing parties. That's right. You got to add the all-new Whata Wings party pack from Whataburger to the guest list. Watch your gathering go from basic to deliciously saucy. Great for tailgate season as well. Order online today. Get 72 boneless tender bites, a family fry box, and your choice of honey butter, honey barbecue, sweet and spicy, or buffalo sauce. I love the Whataburger wings from Whataburger. I love the honey barbecue chicken strip sandwich, my personal favorite. Go by and see them at any of their 17 Middle Tennessee locations. Check them out online and download the app as well to order ahead. With 17 locations in Middle Tennessee, now in Hendersonville, 164 East Main Street. That's Whataburger, just like you like it. RKW 104.5 The Zone continues on this Thursday morning. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling, joined by Titans Radio's head coach. Brought to you by our friends at Two Rivers Ford. He is Coach Dave McGinnis, Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Coach Mack, what's up?
Morning, guys.
Hey. Coach?
How are we?
A little bit of frost on the pumpkin out there this morning.
That's right.
A little bit, yeah.
You
It was
mentioned
cold.
that. I went to the dump yesterday, Coach Mack. And you know everything is at the dump. I have some stuff in the house. Got to get rid of everything
Don't.
before the
Well,
holidays.
Tennessee
right?
plays at Vandy next week, not this week.
Oh, no. Don't stand for that slander,
That's what I'm
baby.
talking
early.
about. But I went to the dump, Coach Mack. I had to drop some stuff off, throw some stuff, recycling. You know, I'm a recycler, okay?
You're responsible
you.
citizen.
I'm trying to help out the environment. That's all I'm
Responsible
telling you,
citizen.
Coach Mack. I wish my garbage guy would take it, but we got to take it ourselves. Look, first world problems, right?
I've always thought that about you ever since I met you. This is a responsible citizen.
Yes.
Go ahead.
First world problems, though. But as we're recycling, I look over to our right. My wife pointed out, she was like, "Oh, look, there's pumpkins over there." There were pumpkins.
Oh.
I'm guessing somebody had threw into the area,
Sure.
and there was like vines and like little pumpkins still just blooming over the whole pumpkin patch. Go man, at the trash.
Wait, so they the seeds probably got in there and then grew.
I said all it takes. You dump one in your
That's
yard, you're gonna mess around and get
hilarious.
some pumpkins back there.
I was standing with
funny.
Robbie Boren, the PR director. Everybody knows Robbie.
Yep.
Titans for years. And
Yep.
it's funny. He was talking about pumpkins yesterday because everybody has pumpkins on their
Front porch.
Porch.
Right now. Yeah,
Yeah.
we do too.
Well, and so he said he walked out the other morning and there was a squirrel that had eaten and was just sitting there just having a gourmet dinner on
at
the
that.
inside of the pumpkin and
Let's
with
go.
seeds everywhere. And I said, the dude's just trying to store up for the winter.
Sure.
And so Robbie let him eat till it rained and filled up his pumpkin and they had to throw it away.
Well, at least he got a
I'm
meal.
sure Robbie appreciates me saying that this morning.
Exactly.
Don't be cruel.
No,
Exactly.
he wasn't. He wasn't.
Squirrel couldn't get a nut, so
I
found
mean,
some
might as well
pumpkin
find a
seeds.
pumpkin.
Blind
Yeah.
squirrel finds a pumpkin every now and then.
Exactly.
Yes, they come to my front porch. They might get one too, Coach Mack. I hate throwing them away though too, so I don't want to smash them in my backyard. I had to figure out something to do. Well, you got a farm? I can throw them into.
Do I have a farm?
Yeah, I mean,
What?
I live in an apartment.
How many acres you need?
Yeah, I was going to say, that's probably
I mean,
a
we
bird
throw them to a
question.
pig pen. I mean, we can do that.
Don't get me started. I'm not about to incriminate myself
Okay.
about to throwing nothing in no pig pen.
We used to feed watermelon rinds to the cows. They loved it. They'd eat all of it.
Oh my
Dang, that'd be hard to eat.
Yeah,
Not for a cow.
Not for a cow, yeah. Yeah.
Coach Mack
Them
with us
jaws
in
are
studio. As he
Them
does
jaws are
Thursdays at 7:20.
right there.
Coach Mack going back to the Lone Star State, of course, this weekend as the Titans take on the Houston Texans. Mack, as you look at this Houston team, what impresses you most, just from the broad perspective, about where this team is through 11 games this season?
They got depth. They've got really quality depth on this football team. You start just looking at the roster throughout, and again, this is old news, so I won't go through it. But the way they built that, they were not good for 3 years in a row, but they drafted in the top of every round for 3 years and did a good job with that. And then finally when they got the quarterback in there, and they went through 2 years of 1 year coaches. And so they went from instability to real stability now. But their depth, when you start studying this film, and they've had some injuries. But just like when Anderson was hurt, and was out, they don't miss a beat because they've got dudes stacked up like cordwood, across that roster in all the positions, and so it's a good football team. There's a reason that they're leading the AFC South. And they are a legitimate football team. And when you look at a football team that is built for a season for the haul and has also got their roster constructed after years of putting it together, you look at the depth because everybody's going to get hurt at some point or another
Right.
in this league.
Right.
Everybody is.
Yep.
And so if you have the quality depth to be able to withstand that throughout a 2 or 3 week spread, they've got that. That's the first thing that impresses me about them.
Mac, when you look at Nico Collins, I'm so fascinated by his development coming out of the 2021 draft. 2 seasons where he was just under 500 receiving yards. Last year, he goes for 1,297, and he already has 621 receiving yards this year. What did you remember about him as a prospect, and what has allowed him to go from a third-round pick to maybe a top 5 to 10 wide receiver in the NFL?
He was a productive guy, coming out, didn't have a whole lot of targets. coming out, but when you watch his development, and plus, I think a lot has to do with once the quarterback showed up. The quarterback showed up and then built some people around him as to where he wasn't the only thing that was there. But he's a smooth player. He's a bigger player than you think that he is physically. Yeah. He's got stature. And the other thing is, he's a pretty multifaceted receiver. And you can use him in a lot of different spots. And the other thing, he's been so consistent. Some receivers are good in flashes. I'm talking about just in general, across the league. Yeah. Because most everybody that's going to make an active roster as a receiver in this league has some sort of space skill set. Yeah. Some sort of. But it's the consistency down in and down out that starts to separate him. Mm-hmm. And as you said, Will, he's started to separate himself in the last 2 seasons, and he's doing it now.
Mac, one of those guys on this squad, man, is separating himself from other running backs in his tier is Joe Mixon.
Well, Ramon, Joe Mixon is mad.
He's big mad.
Yeah, right?
No, he's mad. And there, I've lived it.
Yeah,
with players. You've lived it with players, and we see. You talk about and it's the cliche term is the chip on the shoulder.
On the shoulder.
But if you're put out there by your team after you've played pretty well, and all of a sudden you think, okay, I'll tell you what, most running backs in this league run angry anyway because they have to produce and to survive. But just watching that just live before I ever turned the tape on of what he was doing this year, and he's been dinged a little bit.
Yeah, he has.
But against the Cowboys,
109, 3 touchdowns.
Coach, the way that he was angry. He was like that dog you had chained under the porch for a long time that finally broke through because he's mad.
Yeah.
So it's not only running, it's catching the ball too. This guy's a huge piece of this offense when he's rolling.
He is, man, and I'm sure Cincinnati would love to have him back this year, man, considering what they got going on. But their offense ain't the biggest issue that they have going on, Coach Mack. You mentioned the depth, man, and one of those dudes that pops up as far as the Houston Texans go is of Derek Barnett. Like, you're right. They didn't miss a beat as it pertains to Will Anderson being out. And last weekend, he gets a strip fumble. Offensive lineman, Coach Mack, I know you were livid watching that. Like, big boy caught the football, thought that he was the best athlete on the field last weekend, and got it stripped again. And Derek Barnett, the same dude that created the sack fumble, picked it up and ran it in for a touchdown.
Well, Barnett is look. And I'm going to use the great Mike Keith's quote when he talks all the time about NWI.
Yeah,
you heard him ask me on the broadcast when he said, "Mac, what does he do?" I said, "Well, because Mike Keith always says this: all he does is score touchdowns.
Yeah,
all Barnett does is sack the quarterback.
That's right.
That's all he does, and that goes to my point as far as the depth that they've built.
Facts.
And that he's just a real football player." To me, he's like, they've got guys. They've got guys stacked up there on that defensive front. It's a different defense than what we just played, but it's a very effective defense still. Matt Burke, the defensive coordinator, that started out his career here.
Yeah,
as with Schwartz as a defensive quality control, working with me with the linebackers. I worked with Matt, for a lot of years, and he's had But you can see a lot of similarities in the way Schwartz used to run his defense with the way that he and D'Amico are running what they're doing now.
I'd almost say this: Houston defense is the word that comes to mind is stout. You got to go fight them.
It's stout and it's very, very sound. They're a 4-3 front that they're going to just present you. Here we are.
Yep.
Here we are. Come get some.
Come get some. Yep.
Yeah, and that's so. But the pieces that you put out there. And you can, those linebackers are thriving because of what's going on up front. The settle. All of those guys that are up front that can rotate in there. It's a good football team, guys. There's a reason they've elevated from the last season to this season. And it goes back, to the foundation that they built when they were able to draft pretty well at the high of these rounds after 3 really bad years.
When you look at the Texans' offensive line, maybe some protection problems this year a little bit in terms of keeping C.J. Stroud protected as much as they maybe want to. Where do you see them being not weak, but maybe where the defensive line for the Titans can exploit them a little bit?
Well, I think that Big Jeff, Sebastian Joseph Day, and Big Sweat need to have a day.
Yeah.
And now it's not going to be easy, and there's not, because there's a lot that goes into it. But the thing that those 3 guys have been able to do, even amidst when you're not winning games, when you really drill down and watch the way that they are playing with what they are doing, because it takes more than it takes everybody, clearly. But when you just break it down individually and start watching them, and then collectively, especially of those dudes that attack the center guard triangles, they've been playing pretty well.
Yeah.
And so let's start there.
And Tavondre Sweat, he said to us yesterday, he felt like that game this last Sunday was his best game he's had in his career.
Well, he's the thing that impresses me about him and makes me excited about him for the future is that everything that was laid out on the table to him, Kayla, when he was drafted, as far as to what you're going to have to do to be successful, he's done.
Yeah.
He has done. He has put behind him, to this point of his young career, everything that was said about him that was a detriment. People that far, you can't rush the passer. He can't play very long. He's only a one-trick pony. He's all this, all that. None of that's been true, but he's worked. And you just go clear back to training camp, and even the OTAs early on, before. He was out of the OTAs some, but when you watch Tracy Rocker work with him, the first thing he started doing was work on his stance and his leverage. The way but he's taken everything to heart, and he's done a nice job, and Big Jeff has helped him. He has a lot.
Yeah, and he said he felt he's feeling the best he's ever had in terms of his weight, in shape, and that's helping him through this type of the season where it's first for a rookie. To go through the NFL grind.
And Kayla, he's going to have to continue that.
Yeah,
that'll be a continuous big man.
It is
big man thing for him his whole career. But I've seen so many of them do it, and when they do, then they're really able to be something you want.
Yep.
Coach Tate McGinnis with us, presented by Two Rivers Ford. Mac, Jerome Baker has a big opportunity now with Jack Gibbons unfortunately going down injured on Sunday. What have you seen from Jerome that impresses you, and how will he function differently in this defense versus the kind of role that Jack was playing?
Well, it's going to have to be a similar role, but he's got a different game. He's got a different game than Jack does. I remember vetting him coming out. This is a guy. This is a really good. A reason they wanted to sign him, I think. I don't talk to them about their plans or why they did. That's not my business. It's not my job. When I was in those positions, I didn't want anybody trying to tell me what to do. But when you look at him, and they wanted to sign him in free agency this year because he is a guy that behind the ball that is a cover dude that can run, and he also when you watch his tape in the past, and especially even coming out, some linebackers have a GPS as to where they can get ahead of what's getting ready to happen. He's got that, and that's what's kept him. That's what's kept him going. So I'm really excited to watch him play a little bit more. I thought he did a nice job when he came, when he came in the game. So, he's a vet. He's ready to play. So, but he and Jack have a different game. They've got a different game because they're different athletes.
Yeah.
They are. Coach Mack, and when you look at this upcoming weekend, though, too, Caleb mentioned that inside the locker room, the guys feel like, all right, there's still an idea that they can compete and win the AFC South, or at least be in the boat. And it's been proven in years past where below 500 teams make it to the playoffs. Coach Mack, what is that pathway going to look like as far as what Houston's going to present? Because what they do give up is red zone, where this team here has to be able to function just a little bit more, Coach Mack.
No, a lot more.
Yeah. What's the steps again? I said there has to be a pathway, Coach Mack, to where you can show up that right side, whether that be sacrificing a tight end or two, a wide receiver to chip on every single play, but that does have to get handled.
Yeah, and they've tried that. They've helped that side a lot. But the thing that happens, and I'm not telling any of you anything you don't know, and our listeners that are pretty sophisticated too. When you get behind the chains on first and second down, all that help goes out the window.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Because now you're either not going to be able to get enough. You've got 5 eligible. You're not going to be able to get enough in the pattern when you have to throw it to sacrifice that. So you've got to win first and second down. And to win first and second down, and I keep going through this, and again, the right side has been a massive problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, I could sit here and look at you and say, and I know that you'll agree with me on this. I'm not trying to say you have to. Somebody got to man up.
Thank you.
And you've got, you've had a Rolodex going through there.
Yeah, you have.
And it's not like you're not getting coached and you're not getting chances.
Be a pro.
Be a pro.
Yeah.
And then go out there and fight for it and take it and keep it. Nobody's done that. So, you can only help so much.
That's true.
You can only help so much. It's just like if somebody's deficient in coverage, you can only help them so much. But as soon as you still only get 11, and as soon as you start helping somewhere a lot,
they'll attack somewhere else.
why sure?
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
just so man up.
Man up. I like the idea, Coach Mack. And real quick too, last weekend we saw Coach Brian Callahan just have a day.
Yeah.
You ever had a day like that, Coach Mack?
Yes.
Yeah, right? You didn't have to think about that.
Coach Mack.
Yes. What do you think? I did this for 31 years on the sideline. You don't think?
I know. I just
So, but I could, even from up there in the booth with Mike Keith, I could empathize with him.
I could too.
And and Mike and I are pretty good partners for all these years.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he's the good cop, I'm the bad cop. But when it starts to roll like that, I feel real empathy for what he was going through, because the head coach also feels too how much they put into it, how hard his guys are playing and working, and then. Don't get me started again. I get all fired up and get his.
I heard you say you don't want to get fined from the league behind what you were thinking.
I don't think the league's worried about what I'm saying now. They've worried a lot when I was out on the sideline. They visited with me about that on several occasions.
Standing appointments.
I had several visits. It's a different commissioner, but I had several visits. And rightfully so. And I don't dislike officials. I just don't like incompetent work that is taken away from the game.
It's like when you leave a doctor's appointment or a haircut. All right, we want to schedule your next one? Go ahead and just pencil it in time to come in 2 weeks. That was you leaving meetings with the league back in the day.
It was, Coach Mack.
Well,
I hear it in your voice still, Coach.
It is. And the other thing is, I've got a real problem of being real honest.
Nothing wrong with that.
West Texas coming out of that.
Yeah, I wasn't trying. When I was ever called on the carpet, I never tried to hem and haw. They said, did you say that? Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's why we love you, Mac.
Yep.
I love it. Coach David Geddes with us this morning on RKW. Mac, we appreciate you, sir. Thank you.
Guys, appreciate you guys. See you.
Coming up, let's take a look at Tennessee and UTEP a little bit. Go back to Ramon Foster's senior day. Who is one player you want to see step up for the Vols on Saturday afternoon at Neyland Stadium? That's next.
Genesis Diamond's biggest and last sale of the year is here. It's this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You've been hearing about this, all right? It's an extraordinary event with savings up to 35% store-wide. Rings, earrings, pendants, bands, bracelets. Nothing's held back for this once-a-year, 3-day store-wide event. Acclaimed designers are here with their expanded collections and special pricing. It's a massive jewelry trunk show with a lot of new items never seen before. California and New York designers are here showing off the good stuff. So get across-the-board savings from wedding bands to engagement rings to fashion rings and bracelets. Shop early for Christmas and don't miss these prices. Plus, get 0% interest financing. And yes, luxury pre-owned Rolexes are included. Genesis has a fantastic collection of really hard to find Rolex watches in pristine condition. Lab-grown diamonds are also included. So listen, when Genesis Diamond has a sale, you know it's the real deal. Extreme values at this once-a-year event, the biggest and last store-wide sale of the year. It's this Friday, Saturday, and yes, open Sunday for this incredible event. Genesis Diamonds, located in Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Wrapping up the first half already on a fast-paced Thursday morning RKW. Got Mike Wilson talking Tennessee football, a little bit of hoops, perhaps. Coming up in a half hour, 615-737-1045 for your thoughts. Tennessee and UTEP this Saturday inside Neyland Stadium. On senior day, Ramon carried his coach off the field.
Yeah, man.
So that was a little bit of a unique senior day when Tennessee beat Kentucky.
Yeah, Kentucky.
For Philip Fulmer's last game in Neyland Stadium. The picture of that will always have Ramon right underneath Coach Fulmer's face. So there's a good picture of you carrying Fulmer off the field with some of the other offensive linemen.
Anthony Parker.
That's right. As you look ahead to this senior day for Tennessee, Ramon, how hard was it to put away the emotions? I don't think it's going to affect the result of this game, but there is still a lot to play for in terms of style points for Tennessee starting Saturday.
It is, man. It'd be the last showing as a senior, man. I always thought that was really cool stuff right there for the guys that were in that position. And it was for myself, too. But the focus is more the pregame stuff. You know, the walking out and having to run up and hug your parents and the coaches give you a flower to hand over. And it's just a long delay. It's like a long halftime for, like, the Super Bowl and stuff like that. It throws you off your game a little bit. The resetting of you trying to get mentally locked in because there are a lot of emotions. There is wow, this is my last game in this stadium. Like, I know I did. And, man, walked out and hugged Coach, went over, took my mom that rose, man, and it was just, all right, business as usual. Right now, the Vols have a little bit more at stake, though. We weren't going to make a bowl game. It was a pride thing for us at the time. Right. And this is where, like I mentioned it earlier in this week, as it pertains to these types of schools that UTEP is, that you pay to play. Bloodbath, Will. Like, after I hug Mom and shake Dad's hand, all business is stuffing them into a corner this upcoming weekend. And it starts with that veteran D-line to me.
So who is the one player you want to see step up? Starter, backup, you name it. Who do you want to see have a big day on Saturday?
Big day on Saturday because it'll lead to the next week. Give me Joshua Joseph.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, him. Because the following week, which we never look ahead, right? This is where Diego Pavia and his squad has thrived. That option that he's running and not afraid to take a lick at, and I can throw James Pierce in that conversation also. But Joshua Joseph being one of those guys up front to containing that edge, both ends. I throw James in there too. Those two dudes right there. Next week's going to be crucial because Vandy will be living lawless and hoping that that your nerves are high.
I'm going to go with a fan favorite that I just would love to see, and I don't know how long the starters will play on Saturday, but I'm going to go with wide receiver Brew McCoy. The guy's been here. He's been through a lot of issues in terms of injuries and came back. And I think when you're looking at a team right now that needs style points, I think that's been made aware of teams right now that are battling to get into the college football playoff is these little games even matter. And no offense to you, Tip, but these games, you need to pile on the points. I mean, Alabama got credit for beating Mercer the way they did last week, so why can't the Volunteers get credit for how they beat UTEP? And I think getting those receivers involved and continuing the connection with Nico Iamaleava is key, and I'd love to see Brew McCoy go out on senior day with some big stats.
I like it. I think it's a big Peyton Lewis game. I think as banged up as Dylan Sampson is, he is not ending up on the injury report. Dylan Sampson is not 100%. Nope. No way. Then again, show me the player who is this time of year. But as much as Dylan Sampson has carried Tennessee, I think you got to put him on the shelf a little bit earlier than you usually would if this game does get out of hand early, because Peyton Lewis is good enough for you to still run up the score and have the style points you need to have in order to feel good about life going into the end of November. I see the vision on Peyton Lewis. He's got some growing up to do still. I think his vision literally could still take steps forward, but he is showing flashes the same way Dylan Sampson showed flashes in 2022 as a true freshman. I think it is clear to anybody up there that Peyton Lewis is next up as the next big Tennessee running back. I would love to see him get his first And maybe not his first. I think he may have actually had one against Kent State as well. But get a 100-yard game in this game. I think that's totally attainable against a UTEP team that might be one of the 5 worst teams in college football.
Yeah.
I love that for them.
Especially when you do want to be able to have Dylan Sampson at his best if you indeed get into the college football playoffs. If you can take him out early or if you can rest him a little bit, just minimize his reps. You're exactly right, because he is such a key part of this team. You want him as healthy as he can be in the postseason.
Not trying to overlook. Well, no, this is the type of game. No, screw that. This is that type of game. They're 2-8, man. You're supposed to go in there and body them. 2-8 in the NFL and 2-8 in the college is two totally different conversations.
Orange crush.
Nah, man.
This should be a 50-point
there we
win.
go.
Man, put them in a suitcase. Like, what am I talking about this upcoming
Put 'em
weekend?
in the
You're
river.
right. And I'm not even sure at this point, do we want to see Cam Selden? Mike Matthews is always the conversation piece this time of the week, every week so far. But I'm with you on Peyton. Lewis will. Like, I'm legitimately of the mindset that he's next up. He's got the build for it, that's for sure. And from his recruiting, looked like he does have somewhat of that breakaway speed too. So.
And he's taken advantage more of his opportunities than Cam Selden has. I know Cam's been hurt.
Yeah.
But when Lewis has been in there, he's shown you more flashes than Cam has.
We get Deshaun Bishop back this week too. Have that been reported?
We'll
We'll
see.
have to see,
we'll see.
with our meeting with Hubs tomorrow.
And realize a guy like him was French 3-star was going to turn into this type
Sean
of
Bishop?
backfield. Yeah.
He was a late signing day ad for Tennessee. I believe he was committed to Missouri throughout pretty much his whole recruitment. And then Tennessee at the very end was like, oh, we got a spot for you.
Got a spot for you.
Come on down.
Carnes High School, the Beavers. Right there in Knoxville.
And the thing about him, he started off this summer like with a buzz. It was like, oh no, this guy's going to play a part in this offense,
talked a lot
and he
about
did. Yeah, good for him. Good, really.
I just
good
love
for
seeing
him.
local kids like that take advantage of their opportunities.
Especially nowadays with with so many teams, it's like so focused on the big stars and the the monies, and so it's nice to have a kid like that, the money makers.
Yeah. Well, speaking of home guys, man, have you guys seen as of late the exodus of USC commits?
Yeah.
Like, there's another one that just decommitted, a 4-star offensive lineman.
Yeah, they lost one 5-star QB, but then they flipped another one from A&M.
So
they traded out Julian Lewis for an A&M QB commit.
But it's fascinating. This kid that decommitted, I think, is from Georgia. Like, an offensive lineman going to USC, California, LA.
Money works there, too.
Taxes also would kick your
I know.
They will.
Well, I don't know how much 18-year-olds are thinking about
Kayla,
that.
you let me know if I'm just a West Coast hater when it comes down to this. But if you are like
Taxes?
if you're a non-quarterback going to like USC or UCLA, like I can somewhat get Oregon. Like, it's its own world to me in football.
I would never go to Oregon, but
I know.
And the
but,
Nike
like,
stuff is
the
so
Nike
cool
stuff's
for
attractive.
18-year-olds.
It's a
It's
weird
still cool
campus,
for me at
but
27.
yes.
We got USC at home for you offensive linemen going out.
Yeah,
it's
You
called,
got that climate? I guess you do in Florida,
you've
Louisiana.
got to be able to have the mindset that it's going to be different. That you're going to be away from home, and you've got to be able to be fine with yourself and to be focused on
solo out
football,
there.
and that's it. And if you can do that, you'll succeed. But you're right, Ramon. It is a chance for kids to get in a different situation where they can't handle it, more so than I think California kids coming to the South. Because I even heard Brew McCoy say, I've loved it so much here. Southern California guy, loved it so much that I might come back here.
When he mentioned home, he mentions Knoxville.
To Ramon's point about the taxes, any deal over $720,000 is taxed at 12%.
Yeah,
and it's still double digits, 360 and up. So I mean, you're going to take a hefty tax. Anything
Plus
you take,
whatever federal is. By the time they get their check,
Yeah.
they might get 40% of that.
Working
really
all right
good point.
for Dalton Connect right now.
I mean,
I guess he's a Laker. That's a different story, right?
Go
That's
Lakers.
Top of the top.
Go Lakers.
Cream of the crop.
You can take that to the bank. Coming
exactly.
up, Curt Cignetti's talking a little bit of trash.
With a cig in his mouth?
Shocker. No, he's just talking trash. We'll talk about that next.
What's going on? 8:01. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. First injury report of the week for the Texans and Titans came out yesterday. It is a lengthy one for the Titans. Leroy Watson, Tajay Spears, L'Jarius Sneed, Calvin Ridley, Kenneth Murray, Roger McCreary, and Sebastian Joseph Day all not practicing due to injury. Big Jeff getting a Veterans Day off. For the Texans, Danico Autry and Blake Fisher missing practice, while Azeez Al-Shire and Will Anderson, Derek Stingley all practicing, but in a limited fashion. For the Bucs, they're getting wide receiver Mike Evans back. He's been out since week 7 with a hamstring injury, planning to play this Sunday against the Giants. Huge boost for Baker Mayfield. The future Hall of Famer needs 665 yards over the final 7 games to reach 1,000 yards for his 11th consecutive season. And tonight, Thursday night football, you got the Steelers and Browns. Kickoff is at 7:15. Odd stat here, the Steelers have never won a road game, or never won a road divisional Thursday night game, that is. 0-7 all-time, 0-5 under Mike Tomlin. Tomlin is 2-8 on the road in Thursday night football. For your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
RKW 104.5 The Zone rolls into hour number 3, the second half of your Thursday morning. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling, 615-737-1045, the number. And Curt Cignetti has had enough. Enough of you complaining about the juggernaut schedule the Hoosiers have played. It's ranked 106th. According to ESPN's FPI rankings. But Curt Cignetti says in the Triple Option podcast, do your research. Google us, he says, so you know something about us besides our name and what we've done in the past and what somebody else says about our schedule. He goes on to say, you know, these schedules are set years in advance, right? And I mean, Alabama played Mercer, Georgia played Chattanooga, Vanderbilt played Georgia State but lost. There's a shot from Coach Sig.
No.
I mean, the schedule is what it is. And the fact of the matter is we've beaten 7 Power 4 teams. Kind of. We also beat the defending national champ Michigan and runner-up Washington. That's Curt Cignetti of Indiana. Your thoughts on Coach Sig clapping back a little bit at talk about his team's schedule?
I don't know if I like him or should fear him. Like the way he talks, I'm just like, well, does he know something I don't know?
Right.
Like, or is he just boastful because in his first introductory year into the Big Ten, he's run house. Like he's legitimately done what he's done in other places. Like, I had to look him up last night. He said, Google me, Chuck. Like, yeah, I had to legit Google him. Like,
Okay.
I did
Google me, Chuck. Everybody know you were a great player. Everybody know you were.
Yeah, like big energy right there. Bert, that was right on time. I ain't even set that up
Big
like
Sig
that.
I knew where you were going. We don't
Man,
work together too long.
That's my dog, man. But I legitimately had to look him up. 8-3 at James Madison. Then I think he went 11-1 the next year, and they end up winning the division. So he comes over to the Big Ten, and the part of his statements from this podcast that gets me is the do your research, Google us so you know something about us beside our name and what we've done in the past, what somebody else says about our schedule, period. Here's the thing about it. The reason we're asking these questions about your schedule, this is your first introduction to the Big Ten. I'm not sure if you've ever known this or looked this up yourself, Coach Cignetti, but Indiana's never had a 10-win season. I looked up for myself, and I double-checked it, too, before I came on here lying to y'all, okay? Like, they've never had a 10-win season. So tip of the cap to you for getting that. But we also got to realize, too, if you're playing 7 of the worst 8 teams in the bottom half of that division, like, what you're saying is factual, but it's also skewed by saying you went through Penn State, Ohio State. Who else is tough? Wisconsin, right? Like, who have you played this year to justify this level of trash talking? Oregon. Right? USC, like, you haven't played that top end of the division. It's like Georgia playing, hell, it ain't even that bad.
There's no comparison.
In the SEC.
There's no comparison to the SEC. Because it's an 18-team conference, and half of it is just wretched in the Big Ten.
I mean, for real. So,
and that's the half they've played.
That's why I'm saying I don't know if I should fear him or like him because of what he's done this year. How real is it to you, Kate? Because I'm attached to the SEC, and I can admit that. I can be the biggest hater, okay?
I get it from where he's coming from. The spotlight is on them right now, right? So what are you going to do when the spotlight's on you? Yeah. You got to perform. And I think that's part of what Indiana is doing right now is they've got to fight for every type of ounce of respect that they can get. And the only way that they can believe that is if their head coach is out there saying, hey, I'm going to stand up for this team when everybody is doubting us in terms of our schedule. And you can do that as much as you want up to this weekend's game. And that is where you have to let the talking actually go on the field and do the playing. Because if they can't back that up with everything that they're saying now and him saying Google us and whatever, then it's all going to just be an aftermath. It's all going to be laughing in your face if they get whooped up by Ohio State. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I'm saying you're doing all this talking right now, and I get it. You've got to perform, but you also have got to go out there and actually do it.
So far this season, Indiana has not played a team currently ranked in the top 30 of Sagarin rankings.
30.
They have played, guess how many games? They've won how many games against teams with winning records, guys? Anyone?
1.
2.
1 is correct. The only team with a winning record that they've beaten is Washington.
Yeah.
Only team.
That's wild.
On their entire schedule. And by the way, Curt Cignetti, you might need to educate yourself on the recent history of your program, because to the comment that games are scheduled years in advance, well, there was a game scheduled against a pretty good team this year that your program canceled. You were supposed to play Louisville on the second weekend in September. Yeah. You canceled them to beat Western Illinois 77-3.
Yeah.
So don't come at me with, oh, these are set years in advance, right? Yeah, your Louisville game was set years in advance, and your program was too scared to play them. So don't come at me with that argument. That's lazy. That's so far from the truth for Indiana football. I'm getting tired of Indiana. I think they have been the poster boy for non-SEC people to try to throw shots at the SEC. Nicole Auerbach wrote a column on NBC Sports saying, what teams have done on the field should matter. I'm sick of this idea that Indiana would be near the bottom of the SEC standings if it played in that conference. I have no idea where Indiana would be in the SEC standings. Right. I do know that no other sport in the world allows you to play a minor league schedule and compete for major league championships. And that is essentially what Indiana has done. Where else do you have a chance to win a national championship and compete by playing absolutely no one?
No one.
They have played 0 top 30 teams. Tennessee is getting knocked for having a bad loss to an Arkansas team who's better than everyone that Indiana has beaten on their schedule.
And for the only place that happens, Will, is high school, IMG, right? Like your big time schools, like, oh, okay, you probably throw Alcoa in there like that. Even they have had a blemish on their record here and there. But my thing that's getting me as it pertains to Cignetti and this history that he speaks of, like the last few years, 3-9, 4-8, 2-10, 6-2, 8-5, 5-7, 5-7, 6-7, 6-7. That's Indiana football to me. Mm-hmm. So, and honestly, I never even spoke about Indiana football, okay? Shout out to the Noops, that's where my fraternity was founded at, okay? Other than that, I don't mention Indiana. Anytime I see an IU hat, I think of Kappa Alpha Psi. You see what I'm saying? Like, legitimately, that's where I'm at with it. So, the history of it, I'm with it, Coach Cignetti, as far as, like, you, the person that you are. But holding this up whenever this schedule gets flipped, as far as him having to go through Michigan when they get back, or Michigan State or Ohio State, like, if you've gone through that, we have a better understanding of what you are in your tenure there. But they're undefeated.
On paper, this should have been a tougher schedule, too, coming into the season. Like, it's not their fault that Michigan stinks, that Washington took a major step back from what they were last season, that Michigan State hasn't really caught fire yet under Jonathan Smith in year one, that Nebraska is 5-5 and was maybe a team who could be frisky this year, and that Northwestern and Maryland are just, the epitome of average.
It's like you drew out of the lesser than bag for this year, right? Yeah. And it could have completely went the other way. And unfortunately for them, not unfortunate because they're winning these games by a big margin, but now it's like they do have to prove themselves at a different level, because of course you're going to have people that are from the SEC and especially SEC and other conferences are questioning what this team really is. I think that's just human nature. And even if you have an undefeated record, I think they, in the back of their mind, they know what they are as a football program, but I'm sure they have been looking forward to this Ohio State game and being able to see if they can really prove it there out on the field for a while now. Because, again, they haven't had those games that have really tested them. But so I'm out on knowing what exactly they are until this weekend.
Yeah.
I can't really say.
He even said that. So it's all going to settle itself on the field. Here's what he has somewhat helped himself do, though, too. I will give him credit on this. They've done enough and created enough noise and won big enough and with the opponents that they've had that he's built up a confidence in them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They have handled their
Hands
business significantly.
Yeah. And I give them a ton of credit for
They
that.
have one score win.
Yes.
Yep.
And that was against Michigan by 5 points, where they didn't play well in the second half.
And both teams are coming off a bye this week, Ohio State
That's
and
correct.
Indiana.
That is correct. And by
perfect
the way,
Big noon
Ohio
kickoff.
State, I was just talking to my friend up there that covers
That
them.
should be the biggest night game ever. What in the
Y'all-
hell?
Not the Big Ten.
Y'all, their
heck
offensive
was they
line
thinking?
is in trouble.
Who's
Seth
this?
McLaughlin being
I'm
out,
telling
their
you.
center popped his Achilles.
And
That is a major loss for
They
them.
were already having issues with their line this year. There's some worry up there from everything I've checked in.
Well, this is where
about.
Ryan Day better
So,
go earn it because, again, they've been crushing it in recruiting, too.
Well, he's used to only having a 2-game season. This year, maybe he has a 3-game season,
True.
Ryan Day. Instead of just playing Penn State and Michigan, he's got to try against one other team in the Big Ten.
Yep.
What makes them a non-fraud, though, with Indiana?
Ohio State?
No,
Indiana?
Indiana.
I mean, Curtis
10-point
Rourke, their
loss.
quarterback, has been terrific. Oh, you mean what do they need to do to prove that they're not a fraud?
10-point loss.
I mean, in terms of my opinion or the playoff committee's opinion?
your opinion.
If they go up there and lose by less than 17, no. I think if they
you got
cover,
to keep it within 10.
if they cover,
13 and a half.
well, in terms of the playoff committee, I think they could lose by 30 and
no,
they're
I
not going
know.
to drop
It-
out of the top 12.
But in my opinion,
They should.
I don't want to see any big of a beat than 10.
Does Ryan Day have that savage in him? That
I
he
don't-
can pour it in.
I don't mean,
I don't know.
I think a lot of coaches have that quote unquote dog in them. They're just,
Can I be
He's-
Not as
conspiracy
good at
theorist for
coaching
just
football.
a minute? What if
Yeah.
they come to an agreement? I won't
Quickly.
embarrass you if you don't embarrass me, so we can dominate and shut out the SEC.
I
my
don't think it
God,
works. I
can
don't
you
think.
imagine?
I don't think coaches are wired that way, though, right?
Not just Steelers
I would hope
defensive
not.
and offensive linemen at practice.
You knew it was coming around to that.
How much you gonna hate watch? You want to see your old girlfriend get
Burgess
thrown
hopes
down the
zero
hill?
teams have fun tonight when the
That's all it
Steelers
is,
play the
yeah.
Browns. Coming up, Mike Wilson. Been a minute since we've talked with our good friend from the Knoxville News Sentinel. A little bit of Tennessee football, a little bit of Tennessee hoops, by the way, guys, who are a double-digit favorite tonight against a perennial powerhouse. That's coming up next. RKW in hour number 3 on this Thursday morning. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling. During the Christmas season, people always joke that Michael Bublé starts to defrost and just come back to life. We are defrosting a different Michael.
Yeah.
Mike Wilson of the Knoxville News-Sentinel, who joins us this morning here on the show, talking some Vols. Mike, it's been a minute. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I thought you guys lost my number. I don't really know what happened along the way here, but it hurts is all I can really say about it. So it feels good to be back.
Does it hurt as much as when you and I got coffee a few weeks ago and there was supposed to be a third person there and it was just you and me?
No. I made the trek to Nashville in late October for Vols baseball exhibition, and I'm like, I'm going to see two wonderful people, Will Bowling and Miss Peyton Kennedy. And then suddenly I'm at coffee in the morning, and I'm just looking at Will. Which is cool and all, but I don't know. There was some excuse given. I didn't really know what to make of it, and that hurts way more.
You guys stood up
on my own.
We got to pass that on to Peyton.
I'm like a 6 out of 10, and when both of us are together, the average goes up significantly more when Peyton is with me.
Too.
So yeah, correct. So. Anyway, Mike, we will remedy this in the future.
Mike, since you got a beef, then I got one too, because you come in here and act like me and Kayla aren't here, and now our feelings are hurt, okay? So whatever you're holding against Will and Peyton, we are now holding it against you. And the fact that we are also morning people and got no coffee, okay? And the fact that you drove over here lets me know you have monies to pay for extra 2 coffees and then invite us. See us in the alley somewhere is all I'm saying.
Well, you see, I guess what happened is you lost my number just like I lost your number.
The blamer knows how to blame also.
How does that medicine taste? Your own flavor? Mike Wilson of the Knoxville News-Sentinel with us at by Mike Wilson on Twitter. Going to talk some Vols hoops. But first, Mike, how worried should Tennessee be after college football playoff rankings come out the other day and have the Vols first team out, in your opinion?
I mean, the worry should have been going into Georgia that this is exactly what was going to happen if Tennessee lost. The writing was on the wall based on where the rankings were, which indicated that the committee didn't think super highly of Tennessee's resume to that point. As a 8-1 team with an Alabama win, with a Florida win, that told you that the committee didn't think supremely highly of where Tennessee was, and this is the consequence of that loss. I think the bigger picture of this, though, is this is the consequence of losing to Arkansas. If Tennessee loses to Georgia, no one cares in the committee if they'd beaten Arkansas. The Arkansas loss is the anchor right now, and that continues to be the problem as Tennessee, heads towards these final 2 games, hoping to find a way into the 12-team field.
So, Mike, is this team just kind of what it is at this point of the season? We keep waiting for the offense to click and for maybe this team to still meet its ceiling, which could be as high as a lot of other these good teams in college football. But at this point, are you still counting on that to happen, or is this just the reality that, hey, look, Tennessee is a defensive team that is just going to not be as good as it could be on offense this year?
It's going to be really funny because the Tennessee record book next season will have basically every single game offensive record set by the 2024 Vols because of the Kent State game, but it's not a good offense. And it's going to be such a kind of whiplash of that. They've showed who they are 10 times now. It's a flawed offense. Nico's fine, needs time to still kind of get to where he needs to be, showing flashes. The offensive line has struggled. The wide receivers to me have been a major problem. They just don't have a game breaker there. And the whole cohesive unit isn't it. So even when you talk about, is this a playoff team, is it not, they haven't looked like a playoff team when the offense has the ball, basically at any point this season. It just hasn't been a convincing product, despite the fact that, as you're saying, Tennessee's defense is awesome. That's the unit that's been so good. You know the stat, the no 20 points allowed by a team yet this season until Georgia. But the reality of the offense is it's given them no margin for error as well. You scored 14 in a loss at Arkansas, so that's kind of where it comes back to.
Knox News Sentinels and Certified King Mike Wilson.
That's what our title says, by the way.
I'm not sure if you're on
That's what I told Bert. Bert was like, wait, what do you want me to put on his graphic? I was like, Knox News Sentinel, Certified King, Mike Wilson joining us.
See, we're making it up to you. Mike, get it together over here, man.
That's all good.
With that being said, though, you mentioned this offense, the way it looks. If we go back to 2000 to 2007, let's go 97 to 2007. right?
It's a memory lane.
Yeah, no, for real, because it's the era that we're in. You speak about like this offense doesn't look like a college football playoff offense. Well, it has the game changed that much that we can't really celebrate defense the way we want to, because when it comes down to the championship game, like the best defense is usually who wins it all. Is that just where we are now, Mike, with football?
No, I mean, I think the perception of that with Tennessee's offense comes from the fact that Josh Heupel's a renowned offensive guy. And we saw the offensive numbers that Tennessee put up in 22.
Yeah.
And so there's kind of an expectation of what Tennessee will look like and what Josh Heupel will look like. I think that ties into the expectation around Nico, who, for the unfortunate side for him, it feels like he's a junior because people have known about him for so long. So it almost feels like there's less margin there of, he's still a redshirt freshman starting for the first time. I don't think it's an indication of necessarily football as a whole. I mean, I covered Michigan State from 2013 to 16, 2013 to 15. Those were all defensive teams. I mean, they were 13, 14 points a game. I mean, they played a 24-20 Rose Bowl against Stanford. That was the brand. So they were gonna be that brand. I think, again, where it comes back to with Tennessee is you don't expect Josh Heupel's teams to average 23 points in SEC play. You expect them to score a lot more than that. Right. And with a defense like this and an offense that's scoring 30 a game, you might win the national championship, but that's not the pairing that Tennessee has.
Well, there's a pairing that happened, man, and some calling it a mistake. Others are calling it 16 dumb picks before him, okay? And that's DK, Dalton Connect. Mike, are you shocked? And I know you're not, but why is the world so shocked by this right now?
Well, he's 23, Ramon. 23-years-olds can't play basketball.
He's so old.
Take me back to 23, okay?
Me too.
I mean, he's collecting AARP already. What are you talking about? It's the least shocking thing ever. Shooting translates. Scoring translates. I mean, the biggest thing to me was you saw Dalton Connect's shooting ability translate from Northern Colorado to Tennessee. Like, of course it was going to translate up another level. I mean, the way that he shoots, his release, everything he's got offensively, it was always going to translate. Did I expect 37 points in his 14th career game with 9 3-pointers? Maybe not. But what he's doing, the 14 points, the 20-ish points, like those are the things you expect from Dalton Connect. And he's also in such a great situation. I mean, the pressure's off. He's not the most talked about rookie on his team. He's playing alongside LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Like, in terms of a spotlight scene, it felt great, even if 16 teams before him made a really head-scratching decision, including the Utah Jazz, upon whom he dropped 37 points the other night.
Yeah, career high there. Mike Wilson joining us from the Knoxville News-Sentinel. So, Mike, with the Tennessee basketball team right now, they've got a while before they get into SEC play. They're going to have a tournament this weekend in the Bahamas. In the Bahamas. What can people look forward to that maybe haven't jumped onto the basketball side yet when it comes to this year's team?
Yeah, I mean, you're seeing a totally new group, and there's an excitement there. I think there's probably a nervousness there because really the most consistent returning piece is Zakai Ziegler. I mean, obviously Jemai Mashak's back, Jordan Gainey's back, but that's the guy who's back. What's been so impressive up to this point, Chaz Lanier was great in a couple games. Igor Milicic has been incredible the last couple games. Double-double in one of them, one rebound shy of a double-double in the other. So you're seeing the newcomers that Tennessee brought in really be what they were advertised to be. Felix Okpara in the post defensively, kind of that same vein. I think he had 12 and 7 the other night. So there's a lot of new pieces. Cade Phillips is playing a role as well as anyone could. That's been really cool to see, I think. So, yeah, I mean, anyone tuning in is just seeing a new group, but with some exciting upside, I think.
This will be an interesting first game there in the Bahamas with Virginia. No longer the head coach, Tony Bennett, but Mike, this is still kind of a slower type of team, right? They play a lot of the defense. So how will this matchup turn out?
Oh, the brand remains very much the same. It is one of the slowest brands in college basketball and has been for 15-ish years. I think it was like a 6-year stretch in a row where they ranked last in the country in tempo. And they're bottom 5 again right now. So, yeah, Virginia plays a slog it down, slow it down possessions game. You got to make your possessions count. first team to 50 wins. It always seems to feel like when teams are playing Virginia. So it is a completely different style. And I thought Greg Polinsky had a good comment about it the other day. We were like, they're going to play to their tempo. Like, you're not going to make them not play that tempo. So that's the challenge for any team when you're playing Virginia.
Mike Wilson, Knoxville News Sentinel, our guest, talking Tennessee hoops this morning. Vols a 12.5-point favorite against Virginia in the Bahamas tonight at 8:30 Central. Mike, what has surprised you about this team so far this year?
Yeah, I think I'd go to Cade Phillips is one of my first thoughts. Cade was a guy last year who, going into the year, was a redshirt guy, played sparingly in non-conference, but seemed like that third post player behind Jonas Adu and Tobe Awaka, and then just kind of dropped off. It wasn't really a factor much through the rest of the season. The guy's averaging like 8.5 and 5.5 right now or something. He's been really consistent. And what he's giving them is flexibility. J.P. Estrella is battling a foot injury. Okay, Cade Phillips can slide to the 5 and play some minutes there. Darlin Stone-Dubar has been sidelined with a personal matter. Okay, cool. He's going to play more of the 4. He's so capable of doing both of those things. Coaches and players rave about him being able to guard 1 through 5. I thought Rick Barnes had an interesting comment. I think it was Louisville, said they want him to be a Jemai Meshack defensively. And obviously he's a post guy, not a perimeter guy, but that tells you really what they think, and I think he's been giving Tennessee that.
Mike, it's unrealistic to expect Chaz Lanier to be Dalton Knecht. It's unrealistic to expect anyone to be Dalton Knecht, but with the offensive efficiency he had last year at North Florida, with the experience that he has, obviously the profiles are similar enough to make a little bit of a comparison. What is the ceiling for him, and how high are this staff's expectations for Lanier as he gets his feet wet in this team a little bit?
Well, there's a general rule of thumb if you cover Tennessee and you're seeing open practices. The more Rick Barnes goes at a player, the better he thinks he's going to be. Rick Barnes went at Dalton last year, but the second he's done going at him, he kind of has a playful smile about it. And there's a similar thing with Chaz, I think, where Rick is very much prodding. It was a thing pre-Louisville that he raved about afterward, was him going at Chaz for the final 10 plays or so of practice, saying, dunk the ball, like go to the rim, dunk the ball. And then he would try it in like the third possession at Louisville. So that to say, the ceiling's very high. He's not going to be Dalton Knecht, that's correct, because there's no other human quite like Dalton Knecht. But you want an efficient scorer. You want a guy who's getting you 15, 16 on most nights, because you also feel like you're going to make up that other 6 points, 7 points that Dalton had from other places this season. But you do want him to make his shots count. I thought that was the interesting thing against Indiana in the exhibition, was his efficiency was horrendous. His efficiency's been better. He's been productive. And Tennessee's been able to build around that. So he does need to be a consistent scorer for this team to reach its ceiling. And if he does that, there's a lot of potential here for him and the Vols.
So that's why I wanted to go next with that, too. Considering what Coach Barnes did, I ain't going to say what he did with Dalton Knecht, but how big of a boost does that do for undersized guys like Zakai Ziegler, Chaz Lanier, and Meshack also being like maybe not Dalton Knecht's level? I hope for Chaz it is, right? But like the ability to create NBA players like under Barnes, how much does Dalton Knecht do for the University of Tennessee?
Well, I think maybe the biggest thing he does is Tennessee had no success in the transfer portal before Dalton Knecht. The guys that brought in, Tyreek, he was a starter, but more of a role player in reality. Justin Powell was a non-factor. EJ Anosicki never really did anything. Tennessee's transfer portal track record was bad.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing that this is all done now is Tennessee went in the portal this offseason, and it's like, yeah, we're the school that, Dalton Knecht came to, and look what he did. Look what he did here, and look what he's doing after. When Dalton scores 37 points the other night, that's another recruiting pitch for Tennessee of come here, be in the NBA, and score 37 points. Yeah. That's the brand and the marketing that Tennessee has right now. So above everything, that flipped Tennessee's ability in the transfer portal. And I talked to Igor Milicic before the season, and he talked about that. He got 50-some schools calling him. Well, his agent knew of Dalton before he came to Tennessee, saw what he did, and Igor's like, yeah, if I have 1 year left and I want to play in the NBA, well, they have proof of concept that they just did that last year. So maybe I can be a guy that goes there and plays in the NBA in a year as well. So above everything, that might be the most important thing they got out of that.
Wow.
We have successfully defrosted Mike Wilson here on RKW. Excited to have him on again
mood
He
more
still owe us coffee, Caleb.
Yes, he does.
as the season continues. Mike, always good to catch up with you, sir. Thank you.
I look forward to being on again in April.
Just in time for
Got in the
conference
last
baseball
part.
play. That's what we'll talk to Mike. Thank you, Mike. There he is. Mike Wilson with us this morning.
That was
Look,
great.
I am just excited to say the words Feast Week again.
Yes. It's that
It's
time of year
Feast
for
Week
basketball.
next week. College basketball is all the way back. Look, we have to give you an alternative because one of the primetime NFL games is Cooper Rush against Tommy DeVito. And you don't need to be watching that
Ew.
on Thanksgiving. So we need to educate you on the round ball sport that is also in high gear.
Hold up, that game's when?
Cooper Rush plays Tommy
Thanksgiving.
DeVito on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's a wah.
The fact that Daniel Jones was even considered.
So tickets for that are, I think, 10% what Texas A&M tickets are that same weekend in the same state.
No kidding.
You get
huh?
into A&M, Texas for about $500 before fees.
God damn.
You get into Cowboys and Giants for $50, I believe. I think there was
Oh
even
my
one for
gosh.
like $25 in the upper deck.
That is pathetic.
For games like this,
Yeah.
I always like to have disaster bets. So bet the under, bet over on interceptions for both quarterbacks. If you think this is going to be a disgusting, ugly game,
There's profit off of it.
then exactly bet against these kids.
Well, I know what I'm
love
giving
it.
y'all for Christmas then.
I meant to tell Mike that Kayla this week said that Michigan State was the ultimate little brother to Michigan because that's where Mike went. I forgot to tell him.
I'm glad you did it because Mike was.
totally
I feel
forgot
like
to tell
Mike
him.
had a little chip on
He
his
was
shoulder.
ready. I know he was ready
He
this
would have
morning, too,
attacked me
Kayla.
like a dog.
Yeah.
If we'd had him on more recently, maybe I would have done
Right?
it. But he was already upset enough with us.
You get what
He
you
was.
deserve.
I didn't want him to hang up the phone. I wanted the info on Tennessee, Virginia tonight. A little surprised Tennessee is a 12.5-point favorite. Maybe I'm uneducated on UVA hoops, obviously, but late one tonight at 8:30.
Is this Chaz's big
Down at
first
the
game
Baha
though,
Mar.
too?
He's had a couple.
Yeah.
Chaz has had a good start to
I'm
the
talking
season.
about opponents though.
Louisville.
Yeah, they played
Tennessee
Louisville
was
to
an
start.
underdog at
Sure
Louisville.
was.
And that was at,
They
right?
won by
Yeah.
20. Yeah.
Hey, Nardo, that's
On the
easy
road.
money right there.
That's right, Nardo.
Coming up, Robert Walsh is very upset about something in college football. He started to tell us in the break, and I said, stop. Turn off, take your finger off the button. We're going to save this for 8:45.
Yes.
An epic rant from Robert F. Walsh is next. What's up? It's Will Bowling. To all my facility managers out there, is your HVAC system ready to keep up with winter's chill? Well, whether you are looking for an upgrade for your facility or needing maintenance before you turn the temperature up, the team at Lee Company is here to help. And guys, today might have been the day. Maybe it was overnight where you learned, my heating system is not as ready as I was hoping it was. The cold weather is here, and I'm not ready. Well, hey, Lee Company, they're open 24/7, 365 to help you. They're available at all times. To give them a call, 615-567-1000. These are the folks that you want on this team. Trust me, for over 80 years, their expert team has been here to make your life easier and keep your place of business running efficiently year-round. Available 24/7, 365. Call Lee Company today at 615-567-1000 or contact them online at leecompany.com. Professional HVAC solutions for any type of facility. That's Lee Company. All you need. RKW 104.5 The Zone, wrapping up hour number 3, and Robert Walsh is upset. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling. I'm not going to say Bert hates America or hates the greatest rivalry in college football, but I'm not saying that. Bert, you have the floor. What's going on?
This is my problem with this. This is cultural appropriation at its finest.
Okay.
So anything that they do has to be right? Because they're the troops. We're going to let them slide with anything. It was announced yesterday that Navy has unveiled a new uniform for their 2024 matchup in the Army-Navy game, and it is a Jolly Roger flag. Now, hold on. That doesn't make much sense. Pirates weren't part of the Navy. Where did this come from? I'm glad you asked. Well, they're honoring some naval aviators. They were known as the Jolly Rogers. They were established in 1943, and it was flying over 9 different types of aircrafts. Hold on. Thought y'all were water, homie. What are we talking about planes for? I don't give a dadgum about how many planes you flew, who did it. Let me give you guys a little history lesson. Pirates were the first terrorists. The whole fact that the Navy was established was to bring about Edward Teach Blackbeard, to not let him peruse our coastlines anymore. Your whole job was to stop these people. And now in a game that's honoring our military, you're like, let's throw a Jolly Roger up there because it looks cool. How deep did you have to dig to find a reason to put these uniforms on? And why I'm upset is because there is already a pirate. There is already a team who should have rightful claim. I'm sending a cease and desist for the University of East Carolina right now to Navy. Don't you put those uniforms on. And if you wear it, I will curse your program. The Pirates will curse your program. You'll never win anything if you wear these against Army.
In the world of sports, they won. I hope they win wars and stuff like that.
Wars, naval battles.
We'll not take it that far.
Chess arguments, whatever else Navy people do. Coast Guard. I'm a fan of the Coast Guard. You know what? Here, we should. If they wear these, Navy is getting relegated, and the Coast Guard is getting promoted. The Coast Guard will be the new Navy, and Navy can worry about all of our local waters. The fact that they would put these on, knowing that 1 week after this, they are going to have to play East Carolina, it's just like, hey, that smells like cherry red number 1. Who wears cherry red number 1? We do. We wear that. You know where you go to bed at. You know who you brought to the dance. Why the hell are you wearing these uniforms? I'm perturbed.
Is there a little bit of jealousy, though?
A whole lot of jealousy.
Knowing that these are badass?
All right, they are badass. I want you guys to filibuster for maybe 30 seconds while I look up the most recent Navy ECU game scores.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not great.
If you can go look these up, these unis, please do, because I didn't look them up yet, and so when we got into the segment, I obviously clearly looked it up.
I feel like you're twisting and turning the knife
I
on
know.
Bert, though,
you know
Kayla.
this is what I do. I'm a big sister. I'm a big sister in real life.
He's already riled up right now, Kayla. Like, I don't think it's fair that you're trying to twist the knife also. We already got somebody in the chat saying this guy hates the troops. There's so much going on. People
not
are
me,
saying,
but people.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, somebody said you need to go see Top Gun Maverick. Like, they got a lot
fly
of
planes! They're in the air! Well, don't talk to me about planes. You're Navy.
Right, exactly.
This could be the Space Force for all I care.
Side with him.
So, the U.S. Navy is the world's second largest Air Force.
I don't want to hear
that. That is factual.
Don't bring facts
the
to my
U.S. Air
argument.
Force is the largest Air Force in the world with over 5,300 aircraft. Generative AI on Google.com tells me that Navy is the world's second largest Air Force with 4,012 aircraft.
That's because they're on our team. They're on America's team.
Oh, okay.
If Navy was in another conference, if our Navy was in the UK's conference, they would not be this big. It is because they are part of the United States Conference.
That's real.
Let me read you guys some games. ECU has only beat Navy twice. In its entirety of this matchup since 2006. Here are some scores. Navy wins 76-35. Navy wins 56-28. Navy wins 45-21. Navy wins 66-31. I'm tired of it.
I didn't even know they scored that many points.
I didn't even know they were that good either, Kayla. I went to college thinking, service branch. We're going to walk all over these guys. Nope. Forward march. They just score every drive.
So something happened in the history where they've been cursed.
2019, 42-10.
That is
Y'all are worse against mobile quarterbacks than Brian Kelly's LSU.
Who are you telling?
Right?
We are
That's
not.
crazy.
All I'm saying is do right. Do right. East Carolina, the birthplace of Blackbeard. Pirate stuff is ours. Steve the Pirate from Dodgeball. Any other pirates you can think
Mike
of.
Leach.
They're Mike Leach.
Yeah.
Mike Leach, don't get me started. So we as
Mike
a whole
Leach was never an ECU guy.
No, but he's a pirate at
He was
heart. You
representing
know what I'm
both.
saying?
He was a real life
I'll let
American
you have a
pirate.
little of him since he was at Washington State, okay?
There it
I
is.
think he has
There you
some
go.
connection. I can't remember what his connection is actually to East Carolina, but he has some
Something.
connection.
He's just representative.
Either way,
Yeah.
Navy, do me a solid. Just forget about this old Jolly Roger thing. Let's just throw this in the back.
Okay.
You put on your same golden Navy costume, and we go like that into the game. But do not masquerade as pirates against Army, or they will walk you. Oh, Army, by the way, who walks to battle. They don't fly planes in. They're not
Have you seen their
cross-country-
jerseys?
What, are they also pirates?
No, they are
Nerds.
card suits.
Okay, I'm done with that.
They have
Okay.
different cards on their helmets.
I like that.
There's spades, there's clubs, there's
Okay.
hearts.
See, there's
stuff
no
like that.
gambler in college football that they could offend with this. There's no other mascot that they could besmirch by being like, "Oh, we're going to know when to hold them and know when to fold them."
They're assigned randomly across the Army football team. Helmets display the markings used by the 101st paratroopers and glider troops to identify their unit affiliations for the jump into Normandy throughout the European theater of operations.
Now, see,
Wow.
that's honorable.
That's sick.
One more thing, but going back to the Navy
Go Army.
uniforms.
Be Navy.
Back of the helmet, fear the bones.
Oh my God! Don't get me started. Next, they're going to be like, "No quarter, fourth quarter, raise the red flag." Stop it! Stop it, guys.
I mean, Bert, I feel you. That's the same way I told you before. That's the
This is
same
an
way-
Army household in a couple weeks for the Army Navy games.
Same way I feel about Kentucky doing checkerboards. You know what I'm saying? Like these are the things. I don't care what they say. We did it first. Like that's not what you're known
Ayers
for.
Hall was built first before Kentucky
So
ever had
fun.
checkerboards.
This is not what
So
you're known
sit
for, Bert.
and spin.
I feel you on that, dog.
This feels like having a step parent and you're going over to their house where their real kids live, and you leave something over there, come back, and the kids are playing with. Hey, that was mine. Not anymore. It's
Yep.
mine now. I feel like Navy has taken over our toy box, and
Yeah.
there's nothing we can do about it.
Playing with the bones.
I
There you go.
feel you, man. And they're making a mockery of you guys too, man. They probably got a bigger budget than y'all and everything.
well, considering those
That's a
numbers, I
backhanded
would say they,
compliment.
The U.S.
Government
government is their
assistance
budget.
out
What are
here.
you talking about?
That's what I'm saying.
What are you talking about?
These boys out here on welfare, Bert. You out here actually doing work, man. You out here building stuff.
Greenville, USA, man. Come on, the common man.
Golly,
Yes,
that's tough.
sir.
Hey, that was a
Anyway.
great rant. I need you. No. It was a great point to be made. Okay, it wasn't a rant. It was all facts.
It's a good soapbox
Good soapbox.
from Robert
I
F. Walsh.
appreciated it.
F is for fun. Coming up, hour number 4 of the show, the Thursday 3 picks make you some money coming up at 9:20. But when we come back, Will Levis was compared to C.J. Stroud yesterday. In his press conference, he talked about that comparison and the pressure to win, but not play hero ball in order to win. That's next as hour 4 begins.
Hey, it's Kayla and Ramon with Window Nation. I woke up this morning, Ramon, and oh my goodness, it was cold outside.
Yeah, I like
You're
it.
starting to see, I do too, but then you're probably not going to like it if you have fogged up windows and you're realizing you touch them, they're cold. You're like, oh shoot, all the heat that I just jacked up all night long, it's going straight out the windows, and there goes all our money for Christmas. If that's the case, and your windows are like this, that probably indicates you need new windows from our friends at Window Nation.
No doubt about it, man. One of the customers, Albert, said this. It's great value, great product, and great customer service. Highly recommend. Listen, 50% off all window styles, too. That includes double hung, bays, bows, picture windows, everything. Pay nothing until 2025 and get 0% interest for 5 full years. That's 60 months. Plus, Kayla told you, get an additional 10% off for their Black Friday special. Windows is all Window Nation does, okay? You don't have to worry about anything else. If you need more information or get those windows, call them at 866-90Nation or go online to windownation.com.
What's going on? 9 o'clock. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. First injury report of the week for the Texans and Titans came out yesterday. Pretty lengthy one for the Titans. Leroy Watson, Tajay Spears, L'Jarius Sneed, Calvin Ridley, Kenneth Murray, Roger McCreary, and Sebastian Joseph Day all not practicing due to injuries. For the Texans, Nico Autry and Blake Fisher missing practice, while Azeez Al-Shire, Will Anderson, and Derek Stingley all practiced in limited fashion. To the NFC South, where Bucs wide receiver Mike Evans, who's been out since Week 7 with a hamstring injury, is back at practice, planning to play this Sunday against the Giants. That's a huge boost for Baker Mayfield. The future Hall of Famer needs 665 yards over the final 7 games to reach 1,000 yards for the 11th consecutive year. You got Thursday Night Football tonight. Steelers and Browns. Kickoff is at 7:15. Fun stat with this game: Steelers have never won a road divisional Thursday Night Football game. They are 0-7 all-time, 0-5 under Mike Tomlin. Tomlin is 2-8 on the road for Thursday Night Football. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your own for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
RKW 104.5 The Zone rolls into the fourth and final hour, 9 a.m. in Nashville. We are motivated by a strong Robert Walsh soapbox the previous hour. Gary writes in at Ramon Kayla Will, can we get a rant by Bert every damn day, please?
Sure.
That'd be great.
Bert's beef,
Bert's
man.
rant.
Bert's beef.
Bert's beef.
Where's Bert's beef?
Who's messing you over today,
We can do
Bert?
it every
Bert.
Thursday.
F.I.B. Fix it,
Yeah.
Bert.
Yes.
That's what Ron Slay is always saying in the
Bert's
F and a
beef. I
Big
like
Chat.
that.
He will join us at his new weekly time tomorrow
Yes, he'll
at
be in the building.
9:20.
I heard we got some haters on the line. Is that
We're going to get to
People are
those in
mad.
just a minute. You will get your turn
It's okay.
Man.
to publicly disparage Robert Walsh, even though we're probably going to defend Bert. Probably not going to defend you if you do want to take that stance. I did want to hear from Will Levis yesterday talking about the pressure to win but not play hero ball. Challenge there, mixing and balancing those two factors. Here's the quarterback yesterday.
Yeah, it's like you can't be desperate for it. I think it's just something that you got to just continue to keep coming to work and knowing that how you approach your job and how you approach your day to day are the habits that create winning football. And we just got to know that if we just keep doing those things, then the wins are going to come. Can't press, can't force anything, can't try to play hero ball like you said. But I think if we just keep taking care of the small things like we have, then it'll come eventually.
To what extent do you pay attention to how CJ's career is going? Do you find any value in comparing yourself to Bryce or Anthony or any of those guys that you kind of came out with and comparing how your trajectories are going?
Yeah, I definitely don't find any value in it. Just knowing everyone's situation is different, and that's the thief of joy is comparisons. So I mean, I'm not looking at those types of things, but obviously looking at them from just a player standpoint and how they've been able to play the position. Obviously CJ's done a great job this past year and a half, and it's been fun watching him and seeing him develop in this league. I'm hoping to have a bunch of battles against him in my career, and I'm looking forward to get out there and compete against him Sunday.
There is Levis yesterday. As it stands, according to ESPN's Football Power Index, the Titans have a 0.5% chance at making the playoffs. Fourth best odds at the number one overall pick at 13.8%. That is the challenge, though, right now, guys, for Levis. How do you lead your team to wins without doing too much and costing your team the way you did early in the season?
Yeah, and I think that's the one thing maybe he's starting to learn, right, is to not be playing hero ball. And there was another question asked about balancing, trying to win games, and know you need to win games, but not playing the hero ball. I think he has taken steps in the right direction to show us that he has tamed his mind down. I'm going to say it. Maybe he's rewired it a little bit. That's right. And that's the first thing you got to ask and at least say, okay, he's showing signs of it. So if he can do that and then take the next step in some of the other things that he's got to do to help this team win games, then I think that it could be headed in a better direction for him. I'm not convinced that he's going to be the guy moving forward yet. but he has shown me in 2 games so far that he's able to handle a little bit more than he was before.
And I love that, not necessarily the hesitancy of what he's saying right now, like not forcing it. What I do want to see is his ability to just be a playmaker.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm with taking care of the ball and not trying to do too much, but there will come a point over these next 7 games where he has to be at a spot to where I'm driving his team. Like, I can't just put it in cruise control. No, I need to see you flooring it, okay? Sure. Same way people do in the mornings here on the road. I need to see, like, pedal to the metal here is all I'm telling you.
You mean you?
Like, within reason is all I'm saying. Like, within reason, I do want to see him floor it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because there were still moments of him not taking checkdowns on Sunday. I mean, he had the deep ball and double coverage to Calvin Ridley over the top of the defense that very easily could have been intercepted as the play broke down. He had 2 checkdowns wide open in the flat on each side. But I think the positive example was on the opening drive when he checked it down to Chig on 3rd and 11, 3rd and 12. Chig makes a guy miss and picks up a first down. There is not enough make-a-miss ability on this Titans offense. That's why, again, I'm going to continue to be in camp best available or trade back versus draft a quarterback. Because how many guys in this team can take a 5-yard route and turn it into a 20-yard gain?
Not many.
One.
Calvin Ridley with the ball in his hand isn't even really that guy. He'll beat you off the line, maybe in my opinion, more so than he will with the ball in his hand, juking around you or breaking tackles. To me, like Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard are the main, like, hey, I'm going to make you miss with the ball in my hands guys in this team. This team needs more of those dudes, which puts more onus on Levis to try to do more than he should be.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, I've actually liked what he's been doing with his legs over the last couple of games too, because you see it in this day and age with NFL quarterbacks, even if they aren't the most athletic, like that's not the dagger in their game, how they can hurt teams, it does help sometimes because we've seen who the Titans have faced the last 3 games and their ability to, take off with the ball sometimes, or even some designed runs. I think that's becoming more comfortable too, knowing that, oh my gosh, finally he's protecting himself a little bit more in those situations as well.
Let's get Mark at the Borough in here. He's been waiting to chime in on the Titans this morning. 615-737-1045. Hey, Mark.
Bruh. Hey, when I tell you I'm a Navy guy, I'm a veteran.
Here he goes.
Here it is.
Bert, hey, I almost called you a few words,
Let it out.
But I like you. I like you, Bert.
That sounds
the whole time you was ranting, I was like, what? I'm a Navy. First of all, we have a very strong purpose in this America that we protect as on this water, first of all.
Amen.
And these pirates that you speak of, little bitty ants compared to us. Okay?
Mark, you're talking over the Army fight song. I hope you know that right now. As Robert Walsh is taking control.
Ooh, my
I felt
blood
like
was
he knew.
boiling. All right, my bad, guys. Bert, I like you. I said I like you now. But anyway.
Thank you for your service.
Those unis are about us.
Let's go back to these Titans, though.
Yeah.
When Levis threw that pass to Westbrook, he had Tony Pollard going out as a safety. He was not about to have a pick six right there in that end zone or take a sack. That's confidence coming in Levis's head. I think the rewiring has taken effect.
Mm-hmm.
Go Navy.
Mark.
Mark of the Borough.
Was that a hang-up sound right there?
Sure was.
Drop the mic.
Oh, my gosh.
Sure was. Let's go to Mayor Ron in Nashville. Speaking of platforms and music being in the background. Hello, Ron.
Political figures on here, everything.
Yeah, good morning, RKW. There they are.
What's up,
Hey,
Mayor?
Ron, let me ask you a question real quick. What are you going to do for my vote? What are you going to do about this big conspiracy going on right now about Navy stealing ECU's uniform?
Well, Bert, I speak for the people, which means I speak for all branches of government and the Army. So you're not in the Army, so you're not going to take me down that road.
Listen at the politician.
Yeah, my fellow Titans fans, it's time to be critical. This is our game of the season. Only if we win will we move on with reason. New York, do not set the precedent for frame by frame. Even Sterator was hollering, so just treat each game the same. A mystery to predict the first firing of Brian's youth. Bill, respect, 25 years, you're getting long in the tooth. These press conferences repetitive. What else do you say? If you eliminate, get better, and end of the day. Levis, cut it loose. Give the mental reset recipe. Keep getting sacked or early gifted for right tackle therapy. The rest of the year, strength of schedule, yours is the easiest at QB. NWI is rolling. You know this. Go get that money. Oilers, Titans, Texans come back together as one name. We claim Texas if we play for the duration of the game. Like Ramon was a glimmer in his daddy's eye, he swam to victory on his first try. Do not try to control the uncontrollable, deviate, or derail. Titans fans, watch the product. Let's give Houston hail.
Ew.
Hey.
Outstanding. Mayor Ron in Nashville. Synced up with the music and everything.
Very nice. Very nice.
Got my vote, man.
Gold star.
You name
Every
drop me,
week.
you got my vote.
Every
Mayor
week.
Ron. That's simple. Checks in the mail, Doc.
Polo Joe
Come on,
is in
Polo.
Madison.
Oh,
Up to
Polo
next. Hello,
Joe.
Joe.
Hello, Joe.
Okay, so first off, I talked to Slay the first time I talked to the best producer in Nashville. Just left and get beef ribs from Asia here. So we're going to talk about Dalton Connect.
Yeah.
But first we're going to talk about the Navy situation. So if the Navy goes, if we have any war, they going to have to go, the submarine is going to go in deep in the water, rise up, and send 200 missiles. And that's controlled by the Air Force. All right, so we're going to go Connect. So he went for he went for 9 threes.
Who?
Only missed 2. 3 dunks.
Yep.
One of them was an alley-oop and 4 free throws. SEC Player of the Year.
Yep.
Rookie of the Year. And the starting lineup in the last 3 games. And he is shooting 63% from 3.
That's true.
So he's going to get, he's got Player of the Year. He's going to get SEC Player of the Year. He's going to go for fucking rookie.
Okay. All right. Can't be doing that. Can't be doing that.
I had a feel
Can't
that
be doing
it
that.
was going to go down that,
It's
I was
over.
that
trying
route.
to believe
It
that
was
it was going
going
to be
down
good.
that way.
All right. Well, I don't know what in the world that was, but kids, don't drink before 10 a.m.
My man had a thick
615-737-1045 is our number. Coming up, the Thursday 3 makes you U.S. currency after this.
So good. Well, this is Ramon here for Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Y'all, listen, man, there's a lot of free stuff going on this time of the year. It's the holiday, so Hiller has its Cash for the Holidays promotion back, which means, yes, they're giving away cash to you folks that want to do business with them. Like a $500 Visa gift card when you buy a select new HVAC system or a new whole home generator. You can get $500 Visa gift card, as I just told you, or get a $250 Visa gift card when you buy a new tankless water heater. These deals are available until the end of the year. So whether you need a drain cleaning special, which is $99 right now, there is no better time to take care of your home before the holiday guests come and ruin your toilet or your drain, whatever it is. All right. So to schedule, visit happyhiller.com today.
U.S. currency is being handed out this morning on RKW. Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Yes, it is time for the Thursday 3. Once again, our leaderboard is tight. Kayla in the lead, 19-17 this year. Bert, after an 0-3 week, is tied with Ramon at 18-18.
I thought I would make it interesting.
And I've gone 2-1 back-to-back weeks. I'm back to 2 games under 500.
It's anybody's game.
Thanks to Navy being bad on Saturday. Thank you to Tulane.
Right?
Thank you to Tulane.
You mean they weren't good against those waves, Will? That's odd.
Navy couldn't handle a wave.
Hey,
interesting.
We're so bad.
You saw
Very interesting.
What is it? That little walking treadmill that one of us are going to be walking on the other day.
Peeped one, sure did.
Yeah.
I think one of the big box stores have them available.
That's right.
Don't you go out and buy one just to buy one, Mr.
probably
Retail
will.
Therapy over there. Listen, I'll bring mine in. We don't have to do that.
Do you use it or Cheyenne?
We both use it.
You do?
At the same time. I've learned to walk backwards on it.
Look at that. I don't want any more details on that one.
Yeah. Nope. Did not. I'm with
Let's
you.
get some picks in.
Anyway, we're going to make some picks now against the spread.
That's exactly what we got going on.
As we begin with Kayla, first up on the Thursday 3. Let's hear it.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and make my husband and Dawn really mad. And I'm going to go to the Plains. I like to pick a fight sometimes. I did that a lot growing up.
I love that for you.
So I have to say that in a situation like this where Texas A&M kind of controls its own destiny, and yes, they have Texas to end the year.
Do they? Do they control their own destiny?
Well,
I guess so.
They kind of do,
They can
right?
still play for the SEC championship.
Yeah.
I guess that's fair.
So I think that this is a game where it can be tricky on the Plains at times, but to me, Auburn has not even been able to hold down their home field advantage this year in situations where maybe they should have. And I just can't trust at this point that they will figure anything out. So to make it simple, I'm going to go with Texas A&M as the favorites on the road against Auburn, -2.5.
Like that, Kayla.
I like Auburn in that game. Not going to lie to you.
Oh, my gosh.
Home dog under the lights in Jordan-Hare Stadium. That is a statement game for Hugh Freeze that I think they're going to win.
Hugh Freeze has been frozen in time, and he ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with y'all because I feel like I'm going second since I'm in the leaders. I'm in second place right
We're
now.
tied, so it's really interchangeable.
Comes before RO. RA becomes before RO, okay?
But BERT comes before RA.
Yeah, that's my legal name.
When do we ever call him Robert?
FOST comes before WAL. Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
Yep.
Good
Don't they
job,
usually go by
Ramon.
last names?
I swear. You've been, at some point,
Look at your,
we don't have
look
to
at
do
your
it.
fist.
We don't
You're
have
like,
to do it, Kayla.
you're like that.
Bert was always in the back of the line growing up with W last name.
100%.
What's that,
Y'all ever
Arthur
seen
character?
those social media just like phone booth fights? Like,
Yeah.
or me and Bert in the front seat of a car, strap us in. Like, that's a new game now, too.
That's a sport.
Ooh,
They have that too. Seatbelt
Front seat.
jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Seatbelt
that's
jiu-jitsu. I can't
dangerous.
wait to wrap that seatbelt around you, dude. Okay.
Come on.
This is a kid-friendly show.
You were about to make that a lot more violent than it needed to be, and you caught yourself, and I'm
did.
really proud of you.
Got to know when to stop.
Really proud of you.
Michael Scott out
Please
here,
make your
okay?
first pick
My first pick.
before the shot
Go on
clock
with your
goes
bad
off.
self.
Man, I've been living a little foul, y'all. I've been picking the easy wins is what I'm telling you. I ain't doing it this week. All right?
Oh.
Ole Miss versus Florida. At home for Florida, I feel like DJ Lagway is on his way up still. Give me the plus 10.5 on this
Yeah.
one.
I would love
Give me
that.
the plus 10.5.
That is a
on this
bigger
one.
number. I mean,
Yeah.
I know Florida's
I
not
know.
the cream of the crop right now, but they've been
Playing better.
And considering what Georgia, what they did to
Yeah.
Georgia, you got to somewhat give it up. So I can understand it, but give me the plus 10.5.
If
at home.
that game was at night, I would feel much more confident about that. But it is an 11 a.m. Central start. It is a noon game down there in Gainesville.
Yeah.
Interesting game, though. It is wild how much Tennessee fans have to cheer for Florida this week.
I don't know, probably because we already beat them. It's not like they beat us.
Well, that's fair. It's a lot
does
easier
make
to
it-
cheer
I
for
know.
Florida
It
in a
makes
game
a
like
lot
this when you have beaten them. How
Right.
many times have we seen Tennessee do what Florida's doing right now? Lose that rivalry and then get so much better at the end of the season where you felt like if you had one more crack in that game, the result could go differently. That is the way things go at Tennessee. They lose to Florida, then they'll get better. Like, dang it, we could have just played them again. Not this year.
That's what I'm telling you. Like
Couldn't be my team.
Beating two of the big three, I live that life.
Robert Walsh, your first pick, please.
I'm going to have to go to Colorado and Kansas and take a look at this game.
It's a tricky game.
Kansas coming off back-to-back wins over ranked opponents. Beat Iowa State 45-36, beat Kansas, or BYU 17-13. But I don't believe in those Jayhawks. I don't think they get it done. I don't care if it's at home. I think Shador he's only got so many games left to continue to add to this resume.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think Colorado gets it done. I have them at -3.
3.5.
Oh, give me that half point too.
-3.5 for Colorado.
I ain't scared.
Kansas is one of the most improved teams in college football this year. From the beginning of the season to now, Jalen Daniels playing more like himself. Their defense is legit at Kansas, so that's going to be a good game.
They could have
Saturday at 2:30.
5 wins over ranked teams if they wouldn't have had one score losses to Arizona State, UNLV, and Illinois.
Yeah.
So they had an opportunity to have a lot of ranked wins this year.
Big 12 has been fun.
Yeah, it's been kind of wild, hasn't it?
Mm-hmm. I'm going to go with the Minnesota Golden Gophers.
Minnesota, roll that
11.5 against Penn State. Guys, this season, Minnesota is 7-2-1 against the spread. That's 7th best against Vegas in college football. Max Brosmer, the quarterback, he's been pretty good. 14 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions. He has thrown at least 1 touchdown in 8 of 10 games and has 5 straight games without throwing an interception. The anatomy of an upset to me is at home, November. Penn State is playing for a lot more than Minnesota is. If you get that game close going into the fourth quarter, I think anything can happen in the month of November. Minnesota can't score. They're one of the worst offenses in Power 4 college football, but their run defense is solid. And to me, if you make Drew Aller throw the football away from home and force him to make a mistake or two, I think this game is close enough in the second half for Minnesota to make it interesting. And I think these are the types of games that P.J. Fleck lives for. P.J. Fleck has been fine at Minnesota. He hasn't really set them on fire the way that I think some people thought he would when he left Western Michigan. But I do think he's good for one of these a year where you're like, oh, yeah, P.J. Fleck. He's wearing the tie. He's giving Butch Jones cliches, except he's good at coaching. I think Minnesota might win this game. And they have the number 11 total defense in college football. Penn State's is 4. Maybe if you're going to really bet this game, you take the under. But I like Minnesota to cover plus 11.5 at home. That's a big number for a home dog. And in November, you play a little bit tighter when you got playoff implications the way Penn State does. We talk so much about Indiana's resume, by the way. Could a loss to Minnesota kick Penn State out of the playoff?
Yeah, I think so, and I think it
should.
To.
I don't think it will, but I think it should.
Oh, I think it should.
Because of how much the committee just has a love affair with the Big Ten for some reason. So give me Minnesota plus 11.5.
That'd be a big old 2-loss conversation for the CFP.
Go Gophers. Because at least they've beaten Wisconsin, USC in overtime or on a last-minute kick, and they beat Illinois.
Yeah,
so
but then
Illinois,
you lose
who
to
is
Minnesota.
the most fraudulent ranked team in college football right now, Illinois has no ranked wins, yet is 25th in the playoff rankings. That's a ranked win for Penn State.
Yeah.
So not as bad of a resume as Indiana, but it's still not great.
But sorry, then you're going to say, oh, yeah, we're going to go poo-poo. Again, I'm not a Tennessee, person, but I cover, I listen to watch the team. Then you're going to say, oh, losing to Arkansas, that's a worse loss if they lose to Minnesota. Heck no.
Minnesota's worse than Arkansas.
Absolutely. Yep. All right, it's my
Minnesota
turn.
coming off a loss at Rutgers, so we'll see. Should be good.
We're staying in the Big Ten.
Okay.
So I told you guys earlier in the show, there is a little bit of worry up in Columbus, where I spent some time and getting some intel on, losing their center is a big deal, considering they've already kind of dealt with some injuries on that offensive line. And I'm not saying Indiana is going to go in there and win this game, but I do feel like right now with the spread being, what is it at?
13.5.
Yeah, I'm going to take it at plus 13.5 for Indiana. Look, we all know the offense they have, and I know they haven't played as big of as competitors as some of these other teams, but their defense is only allowing 13.8 points per game. It's not like they don't have any type of defense. And in Ohio State situation, they are at home. I get that. However, I think they're going to have a little bit closer of a competition than they're expecting here on Saturday.
I just think that game's too risky to put any money on it. There's such a big variation. I could see Indiana winning the game. I could see Ohio State winning the game by 40. If you gun to my head, I would say Indiana covers.
Yeah.
I agree with you. But man, I'm
is tricky.
fascinated by that game.
I just have this feeling that at least it's going to be close, you know?
Actually,
and I just thought that number was big.
I had it on my list. I'll pivot off of that one. I've been claiming that one for 2 weeks that IU could win, but now I hate IU. So
yeah, I don't have ties to that.
Never,
So
don't
I'm
bet
like,
with your heart.
I know.
Yeah,
I'm going to take the heart out.
No. Kayla got that one rightfully, so I appreciate you taking it.
Yeah, you're welcome. I got it off the table for
I
you.
have thought about in the future making it to where no one can pick the same spread as someone else. Like that way there's more incentive to win.
Yeah.
And come to the table with like 5 picks. That's a issue for next year. Anyway, Ramon, take your second pick.
Second pick.
Yeah, so for my second pick, I was going to go. You go ahead.
You got to continue.
You
now.
go ahead, he says.
We'll flip flop.
Ramon, take your pick. Dang it.
I'll take my pick. Here we go. I got, I'm going with the heart. Pittsburgh and Cleveland.
Yes.
On the road.
Here we go.
Old bus trip on up to Cleveland, where it's 20 miles per hour winds off the lake. Supposed to be some flurries up there tonight and everything. I got the Steelers winning this one. -3.5. Give me the points right there.
Okay.
They handle it, even though Burt has been happily saying in his update, Mike Tomlin's 0-5 versus the AFC North and 0-7. I've been hearing you every time. You said it with so much conviction.
But yeah, let me read it for the people who might have missed it. The Steelers have never won a road divisional Thursday night game. They are 0-7 all time, 0-5 under Mike Tomlin. Tomlin is 2-8 on the road in Thursday night football, but that does not matter to me. I am going to ride with you, Ramon. We are riding
I am
together.
too, by the way.
Oh, no.
Everyone wait.
I'm dead serious.
We've
Here's
got
my
enough
notes.
time left in this segment. No, chill.
Yeah.
Do you want me to pick another?
It's Bert's turn, and then I have to go.
All right, so the tough part for me on this is I would like to follow the trend that they were going to continue to struggle, but the issue for me is Cleveland is kind of battered on the offensive line. The pass rush looked really good last week against Baltimore, despite Alex Highsmith being out due to injury. Jedrick Wills is out, so the third left tackle will be playing for the Browns.
And let me add in on the O-line, Big DeJuan Jones. Is that his name?
DeJuan Jones, yeah.
He's out here having
370
spats.
pounds.
He's out here having spats
right
with people
tackle.
about his weight. He told a dude on the show, "Like, yeah, it looked like we both got obese problems."
But he's out for the season.
Well,
So
he can
won't
do
be
all the
playing this
talking he
game.
wants to because he's
From
on
the
injured
bench.
reserve.
Yeah, that's right.
Didn't they? You told me yesterday they added Jerron Christian. Will, so they added Jerron Christian,
Titans
somebody
legend.
who had trouble starting here, but he's going to have to play some meaningful snaps potentially for the Browns. I don't know if the Browns, despite the feel good of Jameis, can get it done. So I'm going to also ride with you, Steelers -3.5.
Well, Jameis is known for being Jameis, too, though. I mean, as much as we love Jameis, his personality and all that, we also love if you're the other team, his interception-prone player. So,
it could be the tale of two cities. You're right, Kayla. There were 3 dropped interceptions when they played the Ravens.
Yeah.
I don't know if Beanie Bishop drops those interceptions.
Exactly. So, were we all right in Steelers?
Oh, I love it.
He's going to go opposite.
Not so fast, my friend. Browns. The Cleveland Browns plus 3.5.
Putting on the head.
Weird things happen in divisional games in prime time on the road. This is one of those games. The Cleveland Browns will beat the Pittsburgh Steelers tonight. I care about the trends. 0-7 all time, 0-5 under Mike Tomlin. No, we care. We absolutely care. You know what? Russell Wilson has been good. I think the Steelers are for real. But Russell Wilson had a bad pick last week.
They did.
He's had some moments that I think he's going to pay for tonight against Myles Garrett.
Boo.
Because when Myles Garrett goes against TJ Watt, that's a showcase game for both of those players.
That's right.
Myles Garrett's going to bring it against a porous edge of the Steelers.
Nope.
Offensive line.
Nope.
Just the way TJ Watt's going to bring it. It's a low-scoring Big Ten game that the Browns win tonight, plus 3.5.
Dan
I guess
Moore.
I feel even better about my pick
I'm
now that the three of
excited
you are
about
against
it.
it.
I can't wait for football tonight.
My Cleveland Browns.
Myles Garrett would get no sack tonight.
Let it be known.
Hey, I'll let you know this. I guarantee you that right tackle gets mad and throw a hissy fit.
Which one? Whose?
Yours. What do you mean? They're going to
Georgia guy.
Yours. Who?
We don't like Georgia right tackles or left tackles in this city.
Yeah.
Well, those all 3 of Kayla's picks. So, Bert, go again.
I'm back up, baby. And you know what? You can't stop me from betting with my heart. I can't quit you, Ravens. I can't quit you because this is another rivalry game. It should not look like it. Coast to coast, it doesn't look like you would think the Ravens and the Chargers would have beef, but they do. Beef by familiarity. Right. And yes, it is the Brother Bowl. So in the 3 games that they have played each other, or the 2 games rather, John Harbaugh is 2-0 against his younger brother, including Super Bowl 47, where there was not a hold in the end zone by Jimmy Smith. It's not just Harbaugh. There are plenty of Ravens on this team on offense and defense, and not to mention their old offensive coordinator, the one that won Lamar his first MVP with the rushing attack, Greg Roman. So there is going to be a lot of bad blood in this game. I think the Chargers are at the height of their market. No one has felt better about the Chargers, despite them only having 1 win over a team with a winning record. They won last week over the Bengals. Not a good team. The team they beat was the Broncos, guys. They had a struggle against the Titans. I don't know if that matters this weekend or on Monday Night Football. So I've got the Ravens. I have them at -2.5. I love those points.
3.
Oh, what's up with that? I disparaged the military one time, and now they add halves and points. They're taxing me with tariffs and all these. This is how the tea ended up in the harbor, guys. All these 0.5 taxes on me.
Crab cakes in the harbor.
I hadn't been taxed on 0.5s this much since college.
Truth.
Man, look at the NFL, though.
Crazy,
look at Baltimore get an extra day to lick their wounds after that slacking they got in Western Pennsylvania, and we got to play on Thursday night.
He just picked you. Now clear out.
Since there are never any primetime games in SoFi, I'm really glad that last week there was Sunday Night Football in SoFi. This week there is Sunday and Monday Night Football.
Not excited about the
crazy
J.K. Dobbins. It is going to be a running affair. I think this will be.
Yeah.
I would have taken the under if I wasn't so sure that the Ravens would cover.
Mm-hmm. No one's taken totals this year, by the way, in the Thursday 3.
I did
feel
it
like
once and I got you know what. So yeah, I'm not doing it again.
You know what's
Tell us.
I don't know if I can
Fill
say
in the blank.
that word.
615-737-1045.
Screw.
You got screwed over.
Can we say that?
Yes.
I just said it.
Oh, I got screwed. Royally screwed.
We need
don't be adding adjectives.
We need to put a poster of words we can't say.
Please do,
in the
because
studio.
I would make my vocab a lot bigger.
You act like Will Levis out here. You act like you're not trying to get fired or something.
I thought about it. I don't want it anymore.
Oh, goodness.
Ramon, your final pick, please.
Ooh, this is a hate pick. Big time, man.
All your picks are either wrong. You either pick teams you love or pick against teams you hate.
Hard or hate.
So you're going up against Georgia or South Carolina this week?
My brother. No, it's even further than this. Alabama OU. Okay, Alabama OU, because I want to see how they pink this one up. All right. Either way, I'm taking OU plus 13.5 on this. It's a home game. The defense is good enough, and if they can drop a layup against us and we beat we beat Oklahoma, then doggone it, I need another favor. Yeah. All right, that's all I'm asking. OU is do me this solid. I ain't even got a reason behind it other than I hate it. Will, you see what I'm saying?
Oklahoma could send their old Heisman runner-up to the playoff.
That's all I'm
over
saying.
Alabama, their national championship quarterback. Think of it that way, Sooners.
There you go.
Plus 13.
Give them something to think about.
Hey.
This last part for Ramon.
Hey, man, you corny.
Shout out to Big Trees, man. R.I.P. to him, man. To Patrice on that one, man.
My final pick, I will also bet with the heart.
Come on.
The Tennessee Volunteers are very good at covering large spreads. And Tennessee, after what Ward Manuel and the College Football Playoff Committee had to say about Alabama beating Mercer, give me all the onside kicks up by 40. Give me Gaston Moore flinging the tater deep down the field in the second half. I think it's a Peyton Lewis game. I think we might see a little bit of Deshaun Bishop. I think we see an angry Tennessee team take its anger out on the committee against the minors of the artist formerly known as Texas Western and a head coach in Scotty Walden, who is an extra strength migraine in the Vols heads last year when he was the head coach at Austin Peay. He was firing up his team. He was chest bumping. He was jumping up and down. They're out here calling timeouts on the first drive of the game to slow down Tennessee's tempo. Josh Heupel has a very, very long memory when it comes to these things. I think not only does he want to prove something to the committee, I think he wants to beat Scotty Walden by a couple extra points than what he normally would. Tennessee minus 41.5. Yes, 41.5. I'd take Tennessee up to 50 in this game against UTEP. Senior day, give me all the points. I want all of the points for Tennessee over UTEP on Saturday afternoon.
Tater Flinger might be the most badass nickname for a quarterback.
So, I've called a couple Tennessee softball games. That is one of the chants the Lady Vols Locos do. As the Tennessee pitcher is in the circle, they will literally chant, "Fling that tater! Fling that tater!"
See, I thought it would be the other way, like Tater Flinger.
I like Tater Flinger better.
I'm really excited because I'm going to make tater tots when I get home. I'm serious. That's the first thing I thought
You know how
of.
to make tater tots?
Yeah.
Like homemade
Just
tater
throw them in the air fryer.
Oh, hell no.
Oh, I thought
No,
frozen bag,
You said that as if it
scissor
was
meat
a task,
bag,
Kayla. Like you
into
about
the
to
air fryer.
Now I
shred
do.
'em, Put them in
No.
little boxes and throw them in the air fryer or something.
I'd put some
That's
garlic
actually a good idea.
Put some garlic Parmesan seasoning on them too, and then sprinkle a little bit of Parmesan cheese at the end of it.
Quick pro tip.
Maybe later.
Get you some truffle oil.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
That is by
That
far.
is
Get you some
almost
saffron. Ramon's like,
He's like,
naming.
get you some
What are we talking
and
about?
served on a diamond plate.
You know what? Sometimes I just shush it. Mom.
The companies here bring out the diamond encrusted platter of tater tots with truffle oil.
One of my college roommate on the track team in Tennessee just got a cat and named it Tater.
That's
why
awesome.
that was in my
like
head. So
that.
he has a cat named
That is
Tater.
not
now.
awesome.
I am
Come here,
down with
Tater.
that.
Coming up next, we will wrap up the show. Headlines on the way out, a Thursday night football preview, and some breaking news from Mike Wilson about Tennessee basketball, who is going to be down a player tonight and for the foreseeable future due to injury. That's next. RKW wrapping up the show and your Thursday morning on a Friday Junior. Coming up, Friday Senior, Friday the 1st. Tomorrow, we will have, for our final Friday of the month of November, Brent Hubbs, Mike Keith, and Ron Slade. Now that
Boom.
is a lineup.
Get you a Friday show like that.
Imagine Brent Hubbs, Mike Keith, and Ron Slade playing 3-on-3 basketball against other radio shows guests. Give me us minus like 20.5.
Yeah.
With those three. Don't
Double
come in Ron
digits.
Slade's paint. It's the boom boom
It's
room.
the boom boom room. You've been knowing that. Y'all been knowing that.
Cam Carr out 4 to 6 weeks with a thumb injury for the Tennessee Volunteers, according to Mike Wilson, who was on our show earlier this morning.
He must have
reported
just found
it
that
right after he was on with us.
Holy smokes.
Didn't he break news last time he got off our show like immediately too?
I don't think it was Mike. Someone else. Actually, maybe it was.
Yeah, I think it might have been Mike.
It was either Mike or Ben McKee, I thought.
He held on to something.
I don't know.
He held on to something.
Yeah, he did hold on to something. Like, you
Left
don't break
thumb
news. You
injury.
come on here and break news. You hear me?
Suffered it against Austin Peay. So if JP Estrella is unable to go tonight with his foot issue, Tennessee only has 9 scholarship players available tonight for Virginia.
And in Barnes, we trust.
You said they're double digit, right?
12.5-point favorite. Tennessee. I think it's a good test for the Vols tonight. Virginia, obviously, no Tony Bennett. It's a different look for them, but it's the same style. Good test for Tennessee playing against such a slowed down game.
Yeah.
And looking forward to recapping it tomorrow with Slay. Tennessee will get the winner of Baylor and Rick Pitino on Friday night. So no high school football on the station tomorrow night because St. John's Baylor winner will take on Tennessee.
Did y'all see the exchange with Rick Pitino and I forget the team that he was coaching against, but the crowd was chanting, "Who's your daddy?"
Yeah, and he quieted them down.
It was like, well, that is his son.
Exactly.
Coaching. That was kind of cool right there. I got to give him to him on that one.
Yep. Let's go to Ryan in Lebanon. Final call of the morning. Hello, Ryan.
Hey, Ryan.
What's up, y'all? How are y'all?
Good.
So I got a really good feeling. Saturday when we go down to Houston. Sunday when we go down to Houston. Give me the Titans plus 7.5. Titans going to pull it out, man. I have a really good feeling about this game. They're playing together, and they got them fired up down there, man. I'm excited. I'm ready to go, and Tennessee wins.
Nice.
Against Houston.
Ryan calling a shot.
What a catapult of a moment that was.
Ryan calling a shot, beginning Friday energy on a Thursday
if it
morning.
happens, Ron, you got to call. You have to call
Right.
back.
I'll take you into the locker room for a little sneak peek at what the helmets will be, obviously, at the end of the year when they'll wear the Houston helmets. But they were in the locker room, and it just stopped me dead in my tracks. They're so beautiful. And in person, but they're going to start breaking them in at some point is what I'm saying, because they did that last year, too. You can't just put the new helmets on
How do we
for them to go.
How do we feel about Oilers jerseys a second straight year against Houston after what happened last year?
Yeah, I don't know if you should wear them against Houston. Can you?
what they're doing.
Would it be okay if you wore it against another team?
You can't switch now.
Yeah, I know. Because I love
all
the unis.
the uniform decisions are made before the season starts.
And now you got to stand on that.
Yeah, I mean, you got to win one of those games.
Yeah,
it
that's
would be
what I'm
nice to
saying.
win it in the uniform.
Eventually, like, you're going to run it. So, like, that's something I think I said last game, too. It's like I saw J.C. Latham coming off the field last week in that game, and he had that frustrated look on his face.
Sure.
And you can tell, like, losing eats at you. It shows.
Especially
Big
somebody
time.
like him who he's won at every level.
IMG Academy and Alabama.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. I wanted to say to him, like, man, it ain't going to forever be like this.
Yeah.
And that's why I say continue to wear the jerseys. At some point,
Absolutely.
I hope it flips and dominates. I feel like I got more faith in this team than some of you get, like, than you actual fans out here. Like, why am I more optimistic about this than you guys? Call in right now, 615. No, I'm playing. But what I'm saying is this: it eventually turns.
You guys know who I want to hear from?
Who?
I want to hear from Ryan McGee. I kind of miss having, been a while since we've had him on, but I want him on only so I could play this for him.
Hey, Ryan.
Oh, he sounded zesty, my boy.
Hey, boy.
Hey, Ryan.
Ramon Foster. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, Ryan.
We don't have any other Ryans that come on.
Right?
So.
Now
We
all
don't.
the Ryans are going to call.
We have plenty of
Hey,
Erics.
Ryan.
Yeah, get old footy old boy on here.
Yeah.
He's probably listening right now. He lives here.
You know what? I'm here for it. Look, we've had people call in that hate Robert Walsh, which I didn't think ever would happen on his Navy take,
that's crazy.
The Ryans, they should show up also, okay?
Yes, call in if you're a Ryan.
Anyway.
Why do you have this much control?
He is the producer.
Let's talk some hockey at the end of the show. The Preds lost again last night.
Man, they're
and that
in
was
a
talking
tough
hockey.
spot. Yeah, they'll be back home, so you better.
And this has
win some
been
games.
Talking Nashville Predators on 104.5 The Zone.
Jeez.
No, 3-0 loss. They are reportedly looking to add pieces, according to Elliot Friedman.
I don't agree with that.
Could be looking for a second center or a defenseman.
Yeah, well, let's just win some games to see if they'd be even a playoff contention team. Because at this point, we talked about those slow starts with Philip Forsberg. Well, it hasn't changed. Because they spent a lot of money in the offseason.
Hey, win, lose, or draw, I need to go to one of those games.
Well, I think we should go as a group. Maybe we change their luck.
I just have a good time. Now, listen, Caleb, Wayne and Alexis
all of our schedules will sync up about, twice a year?
Alexis
we're spoiled up in here.
Yeah. So Alex Doherty wrote this yesterday, or this morning. Roman Josi, Philip Forsberg, Ryan O'Reilly, Jonathan Marchessault, and Brady Shea combined for one goal on the Titans. The Titans, on the Preds 5-game road trip.
Can't do it. That's
during 5-on-5 power play, all of it. One goal from 5 of your 6 highest paid players over a 5-game road trip.
Got to figure it out when you come back home.
Not going to get it done.
They got to get more from
Ryan.
Got to.
O'Reilly.
Ain't time for the show to end, man. I got to go shoot a couple podcasts today.
So now, what we need, when we talk about Ryan O'Reilly, we've got to do that Ryan drop and then Buck singing the O'Reilly Auto Parts theme song and put them back to back. Ryan.
I wish I had that. I wish you didn't have that. Ryan.
O'Reilly.
Ryan.
Yeah.
I hate y'all.
Anyway, that's Thursday morning.
Ow! Oh, I thought it was Friday.
No,
that's at the end of it.
You'll still need to show up tomorrow. Tomorrow is Friday.
It is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know. I thought today was.
This was our final Thursday show in November since week from Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and tomorrow and next week's a short week.
I get somebody a birthday present.
Show is.
Love it.
Back at it tomorrow morning. Brent Hubb, 7:20. Mike Keith, 8:20. Ron Slay, 9:20. Your show could never. Ramon Foster sent us
My boy. Hey, if you call in and hate on Bird again, call back. We love you, all right? But remember, at all times, your Twitter fingers and your mic is always hot. Ryan.